war. We're a warlike people. We like war because we're good at it. And you know why we're good at it? Because we get a lot of practice. This country's only 200 years old, and already we've had 10 major wars. We average a major war every 20 years in this country, so we're good at it. And it's a good thing we are. We're not very good at anything else anymore. Huh? Can't build a decent car, can't make a TV set or a VCR worth the fuck. Got no steel industry left, can't educate our young people, can't get health care to our old people, but we can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Especially if your country is full of brown people. That's our new job in the world, bombing brown people. Iraq, Panama, Grenada, Libya, you got some brown people in your country, tell them to watch the fuck out, or we'll goddamn bomb them. Well, when's the last white people you can remember that we bombed? Can you remember the last white, can you remember any white people we've ever bombed? The Germans, those are the only ones, and that's only because they were trying to cut in on our action. They wanted to dominate the world. Bullshit, that's our fucking job! And you probably noticed I don't feel about that war the way we were told we were supposed to feel about that war, the way we were ordered and instructed by the United States government to feel about that war. My mind doesn't work that way. I got this real moron thing I do, it's called thinking. And I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions. I don't just roll over when I'm told to. Sad to say, most Americans just roll over on command. Not me. I have certain rules I live by. My first rule, I don't believe anything the government tells me. Nothing. Zero. Nope. And I don't take very seriously the media or the press in this country, who in the case of the Persian Gulf War were nothing more than unpaid employees of the Department of Defense, and who most of the time function as kind of an unofficial public relations agency for the United States government. So I don't listen to them, I don't really believe in my country, and I gotta tell you folks, I don't get all choked up about yellow ribbons and American flags. I consider them to be symbols, and I leave symbols to the symbol-minded. Now, to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything to keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start? Left behind? Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big, wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
The greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated to. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free.
What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers.
We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
Historically, the control and manipulation of political opinion has been the Freemasons' main weapon in gaining control of countries and states. Once in control of the rulers and politicians of a country, laws and political structures could be changed in accordance with their agenda. However, since restricting the body does not necessarily mean restricting the mind, the Freemason recognizes that their plan for a global government hinges completely on subduing the masses to their agenda, and thus eliminating opposition to their cause. And the greatest threat to their plan, posing more danger than any army or law, is the threat of a free-thinking mind. In order to eliminate this threat and to achieve their objective, the Masons have set about the boldest plan ever devised: the complete control of every aspect of human life, your life. And the weapons they are using against you are in your very homes, entertaining you and your children, and gradually indoctrinating you without you even realizing.
talking about the fact that a war is rich old men protecting their property by sending middle class and lower class young men off to die. Forget these foolish elections. The owners of this country don't care about the poor in general.
Owners of this country, what are we going? Is this talking to me? The owners of this country are the voters of this country.
You're wrong about that.
Aren't the owners of this country the voters?
Right, listen, politics, these elections are, they are not true. I'll tell you, listen, just learn a little something. Elections and politics are in place to give Americans the illusion that they have freedom of choice. You don't have choice in this country. All the things that are important.
Heart failure in a California hospital last evening.
One time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person, so when it reached the person it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not enter in the autopsy.
So that there's no way of saying that the target was him.
Everywhere you look, corruption. We continue to fight pointless wars over lies, and we are killing innocents and letting our children die in wars just to ensure the Federal Reserve can continue their petrodollar scandal. We are sitting idly by while these crooks continue to loan fake money out to us at interest, stealing our homes, and enslaving our children. Let me make this extremely clear to all of you listening. Many corporations, especially the Federal Reserve, used the government to steal $17 trillion from your children. Your children did not have that money. They are now debt slaves. These people have stolen money from your children that are not even born yet, and sold their freedoms. They have enslaved you and many around the world. Wake up, world. And they did all of this by counterfeiting money and loaning it out at an interest. They have stolen hundreds of trillions from people around the world. Have you heard about Microsoft's Xbox manufacturers in China? They had to install suicide nets outside their buildings to ensure their employees don't jump out of the window to commit suicide. These are the conditions your children in the US will be working under when the debt is soon owed, and it will be owed. It is not a matter of if it will be owed, but it is just a matter of when. And it will happen as soon as the United States economy collapses, which will happen very, very soon. And if you think because you do not live in the United States this does not affect you, you are wrong. And you are next. The only way we can stop this is if we all unite together and fight it. People of the US are waking up to the Federal Reserve scandal, and the powers that be are currently afraid of retaliation. And that is precisely why they trying everything they can to disarm us. You know how the media has been saying gun violence has been out of control and at an all-time high. They are not simply twisting the truth here or exaggerating. They are absolutely bold-faced presenting lies to you. First off, realize, gun violence in the United States has always been shockingly low. And gun violence has dropped by 49% in the last 11 years. The already absurdly low gun violence in America has literally dropped in half. In half. The fact they are saying that it is at an all-time high perfect demonstrates how biased the government and the media is. If this doesn't prove to you that they have an agenda, then nothing will. Do you remember how the media keeps repeating that there has been 74 school shootings since Sandy Hook? Those 74 shootings were not even mass shootings like they claim. Most were suicides and none of them even took place at a school. Not a single one. They are presenting lies to you, America. When will you wake up? At some point you have to ask yourself, why would the government fake 74 mass school shootings involving children? If they get our guns, we will lose the fight against them. And they will take away absolutely all of your freedoms, and you and your children will be forever slaves. And don't forget, they purposefully put you and your children into that debt. And because the Federal Reserve is present in all countries, the other countries of the world are next soon after. This plan is called the New World Order. It is the same New World Order the Vice President of the United States called for on national TV a month ago. He said we need to strive for and complete the New World Order. This is also the same New World Order President George Bush and President Kennedy said is our country's lifetime goal. And the same New World Order George Bush said on national TV said will happen no matter what we do, and we cannot prevent it. This has all been a long-time plan. The Federal Reserve and their partners want complete control of humanity. We cannot let this happen. They want to rule over us, like kings and queens. And humanity will be forever lost to enslavement by a bunch of tyrants who have publicly admitted they want to kill off the majority of the population so the masses are easier to control. They are going to wipe your bloodline completely off of the earth. He'll tell you the order of things to happen. The enslavement will follow immediately after guns are taken away and you cannot fight back. If they cannot get the guns before the economic collapse, then they will wait until the economy collapses. When the economy collapses, people will be starving, there will be looters and shootings. The government will insist on taking guns away to help, and as soon as the guns are taken away, then we will fall into a complete dictatorship. Do not fall for it. Remember, they are the ones who caused the economic collapse to begin with. This is the same tactic used on Germans and it worked. So expect it. As soon as the economy collapsed and the masses were starving, the German government asked the people to give up their rights and they listened. And then eventually the government was throwing the naked masses into giant burning hot ovens for mass execution. Do not give up your rights. Do not give up your guns. Fight back, as they were the ones who caused the problem. Just so you know, the people who are behind this Federal Reserve scam and New World Order are the same ones who funded Hitler's campaign. Make no mistake, these people are as brutal as Hitler himself, even more brutal. In fact, now we are going to show you some. Assuming America grows some balls and we win, we will need an overall plan. We have come up with a perfect plan. This plan offers extraordinary possibilities. It will make for the most beautiful and free world you can ever imagine. If we are successful, we can leave a much better for our children. A beautiful world. Watch every minute of the rest of the video. Do not skip a single bit of it, as it is all important. If this one video gets out to and can change the world, this is your opportunity to make a difference. Please.
Greetings humanity. Greetings humanity over the internet. We are anonymous. This documentary will be guaranteed to blow your mind. Just to make things clear and understanding in a simple manner. We are not here to scare you. Rather, we are here to prepare what is about to come in the United States very soon. If you think the economy is perfectly fine, you are wrong. In fact, the economy may possibly collapse by the end of 2015, and because you think there will not be martial law, you are wrong again. Martial law has already came to America. It is the beta version of martial law, and this is why we continually advise you to get ready so you don't have to worry later down the road. The Illuminati wants you to be unprepared, so that they know they have you under their control and they will use you to accuse people for supposedly fear-mongering, and that is simply what we are not doing. You need to prepare, and prepare now, while you still have the chance to. The choice is yours, people, and no one will force you to make a choice. Remember, if you fail to prepare, you will face the consequences down the road, and this is not fear-mongering. This is a warning, and heed the warning you are given in respect. We all know things are bad. Nevertheless, people, this is not the time to be standing down. This is your chance to rise up, and make a difference for not only the United States, but the entire globe. Economies across the globe are suffering, while some others are booming. For example, China. Their economy has boomed and they recently announced plans for a global currency just a few short months ago, if you can recall, on national television. If you continue our warnings of what is to come, just don't come complaining to us, when we told you so and we were right. Listen to truthers. Listen to those who are trying to prepare you. Listen to those who are trying to save your life, and getting you ready for the worst and hope for the best. We the people are the last hope and we need to unite together. The bickering and the pointless fighting people will not get us anywhere closer to our goals we are achieving. That does not mean have debates and compromising, which we will suggest, if we come to an agreement on things. And stop with the bickering and fighting over pointless things, if you truly want to make change. Now you don't have to agree with everything people say, and preferably you do not agree with every single thing, and always do your own research. There are many great sources out on the internet and use them. It does not hurt to research things. Ask questions. Or being curious, as this is part of human nature. The continuation of dividing each other over pointless things shall come to an end. We can, however, forget it. Does not mean we won't forget it. The choice is up to you people. You decide what side you choose. Choose wisely and don't choose the fatal pill. You need to think for yourself, and nobody is going to do the thinking for you, because all that falls onto you only and no one else. And remember, you can do anything you want and you are anonymous by default. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Greetings to the populace. This is an emergency warning. Concentration camps. Official document confirming the camps. The same people responsible for the WTC disaster are the same people responsible for these camps. Destruction of the trade centers. Occult symbolism indicates enemies within our own government. The world is being offered a stark choice. Join us or face the certain prospect of death and destruction. The A.L.N organization, copying Hitler's New Order, established a concentration camp system in San Luis Obispo County. It was called the California Specialized Training Institute. It developed plans called the King Alfred Plan, Operation Cable Splitter, Operation Garden Plot, and Rex 84, and was later renamed as the Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA. You can get more information on these subjects from Militia of Montana. There are over 600 prison camps in the United States, all fully operational and ready to receive prisoners. They are all staffed and even surrounded by full-time guards, but they are all empty. These camps are to be operated by FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, should martial law need to be implemented in the United States. U.S. concentration camps. FEMA and directs 84 program. In a revealing admission, the Director of Resource Management for the U.S. Army confirmed the validity of a memorandum relating to the establishment of a civilian inmate labor program under development by the Department of the Army. The document states, "Enclosed for your review and comment is the draft Army regulation on civilian inmate labor utilization, and the procedure to establish civilian prison camps on installations." Cherith Chronicle, June 1997. Civilian internment camps up for review. An anonymous source who worked at the plant said that the train cars were prison cars ordered and paid for by the United Nations. He also said that the boxcars had shackles and racks built inside by another company before they left Oregon. The rail line ends in Fort Nelson, BC, where there is a military base. It has been reported by Canadians that most of the military bases in Canada have been designed and built to be utilized as concentration/prison camps. We are anonymous. Prepare yourselves.
Share this video. What you want with it, get paid for the views. We don't care. Just get the message out there for the world to see. Now sit back and relax, enjoy the movie.
FEMA death camps and the red and blue list under martial law. While I have no doubt that the NWO cravers at the CIA have their own list of people to round up and terminate, the actual proper agency behind the now infamous red-blue lists is none other than FEMA Black OPS. FEMA is not here to primarily help you. Under a full state of martial law, FEMA is here to send you to their detention camps to sort out who shall live and who shall die. Those unfortunates whose names are found among the millions of fellow Americans on FEMA red-blue lists will never come out of the FEMA camps alive, although they may have to go through hell before they are finally terminated. Such offenders are essentially deemed resistors of the New World Order, as my CIA and military insiders told me personally. Oh, all of us in the CIA know all about the concentration camps in America and their purpose. We all know that their purpose is to terminate resistors of the New World Order under martial law. Source: Michael Mahoney, 20 years Naval Intelligence, CIA under Bush Sr. For example, the FEMA death camp of the Mojave is a full-gas and cremating death camp, dedicated to the termination of all on FEMA's red-blue lists under martial law. I have previously documented this horrific death camp, and documented the eyewitness accounts of several former NWO supporters who were flown out there. My friends, Doc Marquis, Illuminati, and Elaine Nost, CIA Luciferian, formerly high-level Illuminati Luciferians, but now are supposed Christians for many years, were both flown separately to this facility in the Mojave Desert of California. It boasts a landing strip. According to another contact, a D agent who personally investigated this FEMA facility, it was recently doubled in size to increase killing capacity. It is fully staffed. All staff members wear black SWAT team uniforms. When I asked Doc Marquis what his sentiments were, back when he was a member of the Illuminati and given a tour of this killing facility, his reply was, "Sheer joy. I rejoiced at the thought of Christians being terminated in this place." A chilling response, but typical of this nation's Satanists and NWO supporters. This FEMA death camp was shown off as something the NWO and FEMA was literally proud of. And there are many more FEMA detention camps whose ultimate purpose under martial law is not to save life, but to terminate human lives deemed unworthy of entering into the dawning of Lucifer's New World Order. Know the cold hard facts about FEMA, and then think twice before going meekly to such camps under a state of martial law in your region. We are all on a red or blue list somewhere. Those on the red list will be walked on at 4 a.m. and taken to the camps and probably killed. Red list: these people are the enemies of the NWO. They are the leaders of patriot groups, outspoken ministers, outspoken talk show hosts, community leaders, and even probably net leaders. These people will be dragged out of their homes at 4 a.m. and will be taken to FEMA detention centers and killed. This will take place approximately 2 weeks before martial law is enforced. Blue list: these are also enemies of the NWO, but are followers of the red list folks. These people will be rounded up after martial law is in place, and will be taken to the detention centers and re-educated. Various mind control techniques will be used on them. Most will not survive this. Mr. Springmeyer was not specific on exactly who was on the blue list, but I would guess that people such as you and I are on that list. Yellow list: these are citizens who know nothing about the NWO, which is the New World Order, and don't want to know. They are considered to be no threat at all and will be instructed as to how to behave and will most likely do whatever they are told. Unfortunately, there are too many of these to be effectively controlled, so many will be killed or starved. By the way, once you're in the FEMA camp, they will start chipping the people with the satanic RFID chip 666.
Got some news for you now. FEMA camp roundup drills in Fort Lauderdale. Well, it is not a hoax. The Sun Sentinel has reported, and now video has surfaced of Special Forces operations taking place under the cover of night in Broward County, Florida. The shocking video shows Black Hawk helicopters flying low and landing as Americans are marched single file through the city streets and then loaded into white vans taken to mock internment camps. Frightening video. Now 200 military personnel from all 4 branches of the military took part in this coordinated drill, the locations of which were not disclosed to the public prior to the urban warfare training exercise. Now the Sentinel is reporting that, quote, the goal is to prepare participants in realistic, unfamiliar training conditions before they deploy for combat overseas. However, concerned citizens are not buying it, and they believe there is a dual purpose for the action, and that is to train soldiers for real-life domestic martial law. Likewise, it's important to note that the Jade Helm exercises have recently labeled Texas and Utah as hostile territories in documents related to that exercise. Now let's flash back to 2009. The web was then ablaze with the revelation that the National Guard was hiring soldiers to become internment camp specialists.
Military Occupational Specialty, Internment Resettlement Specialist. The Army's Internment Resettlement Specialist plays an integral role in providing a uniform system of handling prisoners and detainees. First and always, these MPs are combat support soldiers, trained to fight. Then as internment resettlement specialists, trained to control and supervise detainees, to ensure humane treatment, and to assist them in returning to a productive life. For this job, you must qualify for a secret clearance.
Now, for those of you watching right now thinking that this is just some crank conspiracy nonsense and Americans will never be rounded up and forced into camps, I'll leave you with the words of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Now, he recently said in February of 2014, he issued a stark warning when he spoke to a group of students at the University of Hawaii. Now, he was responding to a question about the 1944 Supreme Court ruling that upheld internment of Americans during World War II. He said, quote, "You are kidding yourself if you think the same thing will not happen again. The ruling was wrong, but I would not be surprised to see it happen again. In time of war, it's no justification, but it is the reality." When a Supreme Court justice tells you it will happen again, perhaps we should listen. What do you think? Sound off in the comments section. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
From UFOs to ghost and psychic powers, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now and learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. The Federal Emergency Management Agency was created in 1976 and charged with handling domestic emergencies. When most people think of FEMA, they think of hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, and floods. Since its inception, FEMA has consistently saved American lives. Like the Boy Scouts, FEMA aims to be prepared. They provide logistical support, food, clothing, and other services in emergency situations. The agency has also built housing facilities in locations across the world. To the mainstream media, this is just another step in preparing for catastrophes. But to others, it's something much worse. Here's where it gets crazy. According to broadcaster Alex Jones, FEMA is a front for a secret government, and the housing locations will actually serve as quarantine centers or internment camps. This is not an unfounded fear. After all, during World War II, the U.S. forced over 100,000 Japanese Americans into government camps for the duration of the conflict, and civil unrest could be considered a domestic emergency. How would this insurrection occur? Theorists cite any number of possible causes, from the establishment of a one-world government to a national pandemic. Some believe a global elite of bankers and aristocrats may artificially create a disaster to trigger a massive incarceration of U.S. citizens who object to the plan, whatever that plan might be. Fringe researcher Mary Louise alleges that FEMA keeps a red list and a blue list, where people on the blue list will be shipped to camps for quarantine or re-education, while those on the red list will be executed. Skeptics rightly point out that this conspiracy requires an amazing, even implausible, level of organization. Also, a large natural disaster can displace hundreds of thousands of people, so building temporary housing in advance seems like a good idea. Yet there's another angle here. The U.S. already holds the world's largest prison population, with over 2 million people incarcerated. Most of the people who believe that FEMA is a cover for a mass imprisonment also believe in the Illuminati, Freemasons, or satanic conspiracies. Sometimes they believe in all three. The outlandish nature of some theories may make them hard to swallow, yet the facts are foreboding even to skeptics. The federal government has indeed constructed massive housing facilities across the United States, from Oakdale, California to Atlanta, Georgia. Executive orders have given FEMA and other agencies increasingly broad emergency powers, even allowing the U.S. Army and Marine Corps to perform domestic operations. Theorists like Dr. John Coleman allege the focus of FEMA has steadily moved away from natural disasters to concentrate on the management of a hypothetically unruly populace. In 2003, FEMA was incorporated into the Department of Homeland Security. To most Americans, this is just another game of bureaucratic musical chairs. However, it makes perfect sense to conspiracy theorists. Before you reject this theory, take a look at the laws surrounding the Constitution, FEMA, Homeland Security, and other related agencies. Pay close attention to Rex 84, the Patriot Act extensions, Operation Garden Plot, and the executive orders that created FEMA. Conspiracy theorists think these documents are only the tip of the iceberg. The rest, for now, is stuff they don't want you to know.
Greetings, citizens of the world. Department of Homeland Security teaching kids to go to FEMA camps in a time of crisis. Public schools in cooperation with the Department of Homeland Security are now teaching kids safety measures and advising that they seek relief in FEMA camps in a time of crisis. But are these post-disaster relief camps or military internment camps? May 23, 2013, FEMA, the Red Cross, and the Department of Homeland Security are now using taxpayer money to educate children in public schools about getting ready for disaster. But why would government agencies hold interest in this? Is it because they want schools to be safer, or because they want citizens to flee to FEMA camps in a time of crisis? A disaster that very well could be orchestrated by a government agency, one might add. So what are these disaster relief camps like? A quick Google search for FEMA camps would turn up thousands of results. Yet contrary to what one may think, leaving these camps may not be voluntary. In fact, a leaked document signed by Joyce E. Morrow, administrative assistant to the Secretary of the Army, suggests that disaster relief camps may actually be military internment camps. The document is titled, Internment and Resettlement Operations, and it describes these camps in great detail, stating that, civil support is the Department of Defense support to civil authorities for domestic emergencies. Civil support includes operations that address the consequences of natural or man-made disasters, accidents, terrorist attacks, and incidents in the U.S. To sum it up, this leaked document confirms plans by the Department of Defense to operate internment prison camps for citizens during a crisis. But why would they need a crisis to imprison large amounts of people, and why would they imprison large amounts of people in the first place? But the real question is, do these prison camps tie in with FEMA? And if so, Is FEMA preparing children in public schools to accept going to an internment camp if there is a disaster? Perhaps the military internment camps to be used for disasters, and the FEMA camps to be used in times of crisis. Related. But given the recent NDAA, allowing for the legal indefinite detainment of American citizens, and the political weather, it seems this isn't such a far-out possibility. It isn't a nice issue to think about, but spreading the word about the possibility of an American Holocaust would be arguably the most effective way to stop such an event. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
YouTubers, Pastor Bob NCC. Hey, I saw a couple of reports today, and I wanted to give you a heads up on what's going on. This just blows my mind. But listen, newspapers in Venezuela, Chile, Costa Rica, and I think Bolivia, those 4 countries actually have newspaper ads that started airing about a month ago, and it says that you can send your children to America. It says the borders are open, America is accepting all children, anybody under the age of 18, and even with mothers and fathers in a lot of cases. But these trains are coming up from those 4 countries, and all the other countries, all the way up through Central America, and Mexico especially, is allowing these trains to come through their country, and the only rule is you can't get off the train. In other words, once you enter southern Mexico, you have to come all the way through the country until you get to the United States. So at last count, this was broke by Christopher Green on alternative media television out of Phoenix, and then evangelist Anita Fuentes, she picked up the story also. So we've already gotten about 30,000 of these little buggers. So they're bringing them up on trains to the border states, and then they're being put on buses and bused to all the FEMA camps. And that's why, you know, these FEMA camps, we've been reporting on them for almost a year. They've all got playgrounds, and I mean, they're made for families. But it's a trip they're filling up. So anyway, there was a report out that our border guards, there's a lot of them that are actually quitting and taking early retirements because Barack Obama opened the borders. They have been told, these are border guards, they've been told they now carry in their vehicle, they carry diapers, they carry water, and they carry food. And the people that aren't on the trains, the people that just come across the border, they have been ordered by the Obama administration that you check for guns, you check for drugs, and then you let them in. You no longer round them up and send them back. If they're families, you let them in. And the border guards are going, you know what? I spent 25 of my years trying to seal this border, and now we just change, and they're letting them in. The reason they did this is because of the NAFTA treaty that was signed long ago that made Canada, all of North America, all of South America, one union. And now Barack Obama has completely opened the border. So that all broke about 3 days ago, and they showed the headlines. I saw them with my own eyes, the headlines right there where, okay, America, come to America. You will not be arrested. They will give you free food, free housing, free medical, free education. That's what it says. If you got more kids than you can handle, send the ones you don't need to America. Free food, free medical, free housing, everything. Send them up there. You know what? This is the change that Obama talked about when he ran for election. When Obama ran for election, he vowed to change America, and man, did he ever. And you know what? All the people that voted for Obama, they're as happy as can be. They're as happy as can be because they got exactly what they wanted, a socialist America. The freedom fighters, the veterans, the preppers, all the people that believe in the republic, people that believe in the government by the people, for the people, the right to bear arms, freedom of the speech, all those, this is what you do. This is what they're doing. That little pocket of people, and we are the minority. Listen, all the idiots in America, they voted for Barack Obama. All the idiots. In America right now, the idiots outnumber the people with common sense. And that's why America's lost, and it will never be the same. Because we have a government run by idiots, voted in by idiots, who are bringing in more idiots from all over the world. The people with common sense were outnumbered, and our country is gone. Let me tell you something. When Barack Obama promised to bring about change, this is what he meant. He's going to take the working class of America, the taxpayers, and he's going to put the screws to you. And right now, with everything that's going on, all these aliens that they're bringing in from everywhere, we are screwed. We no longer have a manufacturing-based country. It's all service-oriented. They're bringing in all these people because every job in America soon will be almost minimum wage, service-oriented jobs. That's all there's going to be. And we need a workforce. I mean, the idiots won. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know what they say? There's one born every day. And America is filling up with idiots. If you're a person with common sense, America's never coming back. You might as well just give up. We're done. America was a nice experiment that they tried a couple hundred years ago, and it turns out that greed and moral filth and a bunch of idiots running it won. Man, hard to see. But you know what? I really got furious about all this. I mean, I got mad. I was ready to take my guns and shoot them when they came to get them. I mean, this just absolutely infuriated me a couple years ago. And I just gave up. I said, you know what? I honestly believe we're living in the end times. This is all prophesied about long ago, Babylon the Great. It's the way it is. We are living in the end times. And I think that honestly, America, we had everything. We had the most beautiful government. Everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be. And I think this was God showing mankind that even when he sets up the most perfect government, man cannot govern himself. Man cannot govern himself because greed and moral filth always win. People, listen to me. We are living in the end times. We are absolutely living in the end times. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. You need to put your faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, because life as we know it in America and on planet Earth is about to get very, very ugly. This economy is going to fall, and we are going to have rioting in our streets. You put your faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will live on into eternity. If you don't, this is your future. Death, hell, judgment, lake of fire. That's it. You put your faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, and he will get you through these hard times ahead, and you will live on into eternity. If you don't, you won't. Think about that. You have until you take your last breath, because once you do, it's a done deal.
The problem is the monopoly game, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the private bank, which is actually controlled out of London, is manipulating all the dollars to put them out, put more and more people into debt. So the illusion of equity they have in real estate is coming apart. The players that are analyzing everything are expecting massive foreclosures next year and the beginning of what we call the recession it's going to be worse than 29. It's your house that you're living in. You think you own it. You don't.
Right.
You have contractual right to transfer the airspace, subject to you paying taxes to the state.
Right.
Or the Global 2000 discussions that we had. The real problem that they have, as Kissinger says, is there are just too many people on the planet. And 40% of the world, 2 billion of us, exist on less than $2 a day. The summary of the Global 2000 report I put up on my website, nohopes.com. But if you look at it, it makes sense to get rid of people. So what they said, they're going to make godlike decisions on who lives and who dies. Now, obviously, some of the meetings we sat on, we were planning on using neutron bombs on the major cities, because that contains most of what they call...
You actually heard this?
I sat in on the meetings. I was in the game big time. In fact, I was making such a mess, they decided rather than kill me, which they could, they just invited me into the inner group and asked me to be the finance chairman. And at that point, I probably would have been in, Secretary of the Treasury or something, whatever they wanted to do with me. What I was doing prior to that, so, making it right, I would volunteer to become a president of a company, and I'd go in and liquidate it. And we get rid of the expendable containers. That was my job.
Expendable containers meaning human beings?
That's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
Well, that
really
was the
inside
terminology.
vernacular, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what we used at that time. I mean, it went from there to useless eaters today, so you're happy with it, you're a human resource. So,
Right.
which, you know, all you are is part of the commodity, even in the business sense. You look at it, you have a cost. Labor, what is labor?
Yeah.
Human resource.
Right.
When you're going to put together some kind of product. Well, the inside of the game, when we started to use neutron bombs, today they figure that biologicals are much cheaper. They're still planning on, the plan is to get a war started in the Middle East. And they're still planning on using a neutron bomb, or one of the bombs that they've got developed on Israel, and that's to begin World War III, which is all in the cards. And it's going to happen. Yeah, they even put a monument up to this whole program. It's called the Georgia Guidestones. You know,
oh yeah.
outside of Atlanta, you know, and they've got it all set down there. It's all in 8 languages. They want basically it's fait accompli as far as they're concerned. It's just to get the thing clear an emergency, which I don't even call them friends anymore. CIA is crooks in action.
Yeah.
They're all professional liars.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be if they have that job.
Yeah.
So that you have to look at what they're doing. Anyway, they're so concerned they're leaving the country too. Most of them are going to Latin America. Meanwhile, they're closing in every day right now, just closing in to make it so we're going to be set up in these enemy prisoner war camps. I published a book. It's called Chaos in America. In it, I was asked to build an enemy prisoner war camp. I put the contract in this book. So you can read it for yourself. This is in downtown Las Vegas, right on the railroad tracks. It says enemy prisoner war camp. They're all on top. And they're building them all the way across the United States right now. Bush signed an executive order taking the old forts and the army places that we shut down to get those organized to hold the so-called dissidents. Now, what's the definition of a dissident? And the problem is that we're going to enslave ourselves because most of the people want to keep having food coming in, and you're going to follow the line. You're just walking yourself into your own prison camp. Then we're going to come down to the extermination, just like World War II.
Right.
Well, Phil and I have lectured together. I know Phil Snyder. He's dead now.
Yeah, I know he's dead. And so what about what he was saying about the number of bases at that time? I think it was 129 bases before he died. Underground had already been built. Is that all for the elite?
Yeah.
Really?
What are they going to do with the rest of the people? They just get rid of them, leave them above ground and be radiated. Now, my son happens to be a nuclear physicist. Spent the last 3.5 years in a secret city in Russia. They're about 12 years ahead of us. They have 22,000 nuclear warheads. And, of course, we're the target. The Soviets have 3 nuclear submarines on the west coast and 3 on the east coast. They're about 2 football fields in length, 5 stories tall, and they all are nuclear power and aimed at our major cities. West Coast gone. Well, because the plan is the northern hemisphere is where they're going to release the nuclear bombs, and the theory was that the winds from the North Pole that are coming down, because that's increasing drastically, will go to the equator, and there will be very little spillover because of the reverse of the winds, because of the southern hemisphere. So therefore, the nuclear radiation here will be a lot more than the southern hemisphere.
And this is a fait accompli, you believe?
Oh, they think so. Oh, yeah, they think they've won. That's the reason why they don't bother about me talking about it. They don't care whether you know or not. What are you going to do about it? And you have no idea what China is until you go over there for yourself. With 1,300,000,000. You understand? Almost, well, a little over 4 times our population.
Right.
It's, you know, I spent some time over there and I had some government friends. They think what they're going to do is let the West go have its fight. And then they want to clean up. They say it's been 5,000 years. We want to run the world when we get through. And what they're doing? Acquiring all the assets. They figure that Canada and the United States, the property there will, the food growing areas will be enough to take care of their people. And that's what they're looking at. Why are they? I mean, they bought
so
oil.
the U.S. will become a resource. Yeah.
Whatever's left of it.
Whatever's left of it. Yeah. You seem to be in a unique position to be able to put a fair amount of this together, which is quite interesting.
Well, I walked my talk. I played the game.
You played the game. You know one level of it.
And I know. I used to play around with the world leaders, so I know what they're planning on doing.
What change of heart? What happened in you that made you decide to share this information that happens at the inside levels?
Well, it come back to a moral situation that happened to me, I think. When I flew to Aspen. I brought my 2 daughters up there so they could go, go skiing. And when I was invited to this meeting. When I walked into the room, the world leaders were there. And that's when they asked me to be the finance chairman. As they said, we'd like you to be the finance chairman for the next president of the United States. And the first thing I asked is, why me? And they said, well, we owe you a favor. Remember, I told you I volunteered to be president of companies as I went down.
And then you liquidate, yeah.
I didn't charge them anything for it. It was just a game.
I see.
And anyway, that's what they said.
So I thought you'd be good on the team, yeah.
I'd be good. I'd be a team player. I just did it because it was, another one of these things. So next thing I asked them, I said, well, wait a minute. I just started this $100 million project. And they said, don't worry about it. We'll put it on ice. And I said, okay, who with? And I said, well, you can do that. Then I said the next thing was, who is going to be the next president? Now, this is 2 years before he became president. Right. They said Jimmy Carter, and I said, Jimmy who? And they said, well, he's the Democratic governor of Georgia. And I said, I've been voting Republican. And Paul Volcker said, son, don't worry about it. We control them both.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I got the next question is, what does a finance chairman do?
Yeah.
I haven't been doing that. I've been playing all this other stuff. They said, will you sit down with Ted? And so I sat over with Ted Kennedy. He's sitting right next to me. And Ted and I are, he's just joking. He says, George, you're going to love this job. You're really good with money. We're going to send you out to all the state Democratic functions to raise money for the National Democratic Party. And he said, you're going to meet some real foxy ladies. And just then, my daughter walked in. Ted looked at her and he says, wow, I want to go to bed with that. I says, no, you don't, Ted. That's my daughter, and she's 14. And his response to me was, I don't care. I was livid. I really didn't know what to do.
So it was that moment
Well,
of
wait a
that
minute.
personal insult.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
I got up and I walked across the room.
Yeah.
I then talked to Pierre Trudeau and his wife, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at that time. And I'm sitting in front of them was a little half cigar box full of white powder. And then I'm looking around the rest of the room. I said, my God, something hit me at that point. If the world leaders have to resort to this, I don't think I want to be part of this thing. I mean, even to the even to the pollution and getting everything else they're talking about, getting rid of all the other people. I mean, I was raised in a packing house and slaughtering animals, and you get to the point where people are just animals at that level. And then I found out a little bit more about the details of the Plan 2000, of the annihilation of the entire planet. I said, I got to stop these people. There's something there. I mean, it's just, they got to be stopped.
there are red and blue lists out there. Some of you already heard about the red and blue list, okay? And some people are calling my radio talk show on Genesis Communication Network and on the Great Republic Broadcasting Network. And praise God, we got the owner of Republic Broadcasting Network. I think he's going to speak right after me, John, wonderful, patriotic American. But anyway, I've had people calling me saying they go out to their mailbox and they find a little red dot or a little blue dot on their mailbox, and they wonder what the little red dot and blue dot is. Well, it's marking your mailbox by the government, so when foreign troops come in here on us after martial law, if you have a red dot on your mailbox, they take you out immediately and shoot you right in the head. But if you have a blue dot, they take you to the FEMA camp.
Think of it. If you could put any, let's say, 5 or 6 of these guys at the top of your list, who would it be? Huh? You ever thought, like, closely? Because I tell you, it'd be a tie. It would be a tie for first place, that's for sure. This cunt, Dianne Feinstein, we all know she does it for the money. Oh, God, are you for real? We know what you're all about. You know, she's against the Constitution of the United States, and she gets paid well saying it. Oh, the Second Amendment this, the Second Amendment that. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Yeah, they've got guillotines. Yeah, I know that. I know the FEMA camps, they've got guillotines to show the people, to scare them. But wouldn't you just love to put her on a list and just go crack? Eh? How would you feel? How would you feel, Dianne Feinstein? Eh? Huh? How would you feel? Yep. Goodbye. Cunt. Then this traitor. This guy he's right out of left field. Oh, now never take your guns away. Never take your guns away. You're so full of shit, Obama. It ain't funny, man. Like, come on. He swings to the left, to the right. We don't know where he's coming from. We really don't. And he's so full of shit, man. Dear God, how did we ever put him in power again? How did we? He would definitely be at the top of the list. Him and Dianne Feinstein. Man, this guy's scary. I do believe he wants to kill everybody because he knows he's dying. He knows his days are numbered because of old age. And he's upset because he sees young kids playing in the streets. No problems, nowhere in the world, just being free because they're American. Oh no, he's got the biggest distaste for America, this guy. It's incredible. $100,000,000% this guy'd be on the list. We're talking 3,000 people died. He made billions. Do you think he had the decency to donate money, even a fucking penny, to the victims? He smiles at us. He laughs. He's laughing in our faces right now. That's where I put this guy, man. Life. And I put him in a closet, 24-hour. The bastard that he is. Yeah, just for being a fucking... the Patriot Act. Oh yeah. I'd love to see this guy Just suffer. Death would be too good for this guy. 50 years he's played with us. 50 years, man.
Well, the mass media is so full of crock, so full of baloney, it ain't funny, people. We see it every day, but the greatest thing is happening. People are actually, they're waking up by the thousands every day. If this continues, we are going to see an overthrow of government once, and we're going to finally put someone good in place. They can't act fast enough. They can't get these foreign troops over here quick enough to get the guns away from the Americans. You see, if guns are really bad, they're worried about killings. Most killings happen with pistols, not with assault rifles. They want the assault rifles because they're threatened. Once they take the assault rifles off the street, they can pretty much dictate whatever they like. 10% of your bank account will go to them. You won't be able to have any more gold. They'll come to your houses. They'll do home inspections. That'll be next. They'll come into your house and say, hey, too many plugs into that wall. Fine. Oh, too much newspaper piled up in the corner there. Fire hazard. Fine. Too much food over 7 days. Fine. That is what the end goal is. Total control. Keep everybody congested in these municipalities where they can control everything. They'll have their predator drones surveilling, cameras everywhere on their hands. That is what they want. That they want to take currency, the actual currency, out of circulation. This way, everyone has a chip, and with that chip, you're screwed. Take, for example, you just got your check, right? In RFID, it's just a statement. The money's in your account. I gotta go get milk for the kids, diapers, and I got my phone bill to pay as well. I can hold off on that phone bill, right? I'll pay it next week because I got to get milk this week. That's when you have tangible cash. That bill will get extracted from your check immediately. You need milk for your kids? Too bad, pay. You need gas for your car? Too bad, pay. Diapers? Too bad, pay. That's what the end goal is. That RFID chip is so clandestine, it's not funny. They'll get you to want it. They'll get you to say, wow, we really need that. Isn't that great? I don't lose change anymore. I don't need this and that. The reality of it is they'll be able to take from you anytime they want a chance to say anything. We need to come together now and realize, hey, you cronies, they're the same people we see over and over and over, no matter who is president. You'll see Hillary Clinton, she'll be there. Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, These guys will always be there. Henry Kissinger's been there for 50 years. You understand what's going on here? Come on, people. The door's just revolving. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a cycle. And we're fished right in. Whoever they throw in the front is just a mouthpiece. Bush, Clinton, Obama, these guys are just idiots. When are we going to say enough? Better late than never, that's what I say. If you could do it now, you go for it. You go for it, because I support you 100%. You know, over here in Canada, they get it in the ass. Believe me when I tell you. Canadians gave up their guns long ago. That's why we pay the most for telephone bills. We pay more for our own lumber that we actually grow here than America does. Our own natural resources. You understand how stupid that is? People live in border towns. They will actually drive over to the United States just to buy a bottle of liquor that's made here in Canada, like Canadian whiskey. And if America gives up their guns, they'll get it worse. You guys will have toll bridges from state to state to state. You guys will have everything monetary. Anything you feel has got humanity in it, let's put it this way, it'll be subtracted. And in its place will be monetary. That's right, people, monetary. We are seeing now the biggest incarcerated country in the world. So many people in prison. So many of the most kooky, stupidest laws. Have you ever heard 3 strikes you're out? Where the heck does that happen? People are doing life for a box of chocolates, a slice of pizza. That's how hungry they are, man. They know they're on that deal, but they're hungry. They're poor. What are you going to do? Oh, let's throw them in jail for life. But guess what? While they're in there too, we'll implement slave labor without the people realizing it. Because all military equipment and accessories are built in prisons. Appliances are all built in prisons. What do you think they do? They'll say, okay, listen, you're in prison, you're locked up 24 hours in that closet. Oh, by the way, if you want to get out of the closet, you can come to work. Right? It's free, but at least you get to come out. That's how they get you. The world banking system has learned now to put a barcode on every human being. That freaking social security number, that birth certificate is your barcode. You are either a preferred stock, a common stock, or even a penny stock. They don't care. To you, that's what you are. You are not a man anymore. You are an item to be bought and sold on the world market. So what do you have to say about that? Have you had enough? Look at the people here that want to take the guns away. Feinstein. You should ask herself, who is on your payroll, Miss Feinstein? Huh? Who pays you and who do you pay? Because the people are paying you to do what you're doing, to lobby for the guns. Hillary Clinton, you are such a traitor. You flip-flop back and forth. It ain't funny. The deal is this, Hillary. You want more money, more for you and none for anyone else. That's the reality. You're a goddamn Satanist. It's proven. Doesn't anybody even realize she's taking a star-spangled banner, beautiful thing with the stars. She reverses the stars, and then she comes out and speaks to a whole bunch of audience. They're going, wow, Hillary, you're a beautiful, nice person. She's a Satanist. I wanted to purposely put this out there because a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them. Look at all the people facing Hillary, not even realizing behind them lies our noble, our humble star-spangled banner. And the stars are upside down, representing Satan. It is a fact. What kills me the most is how they listen to her, not even understanding how deep in the occult she really is. She actually prays to Satan. She hates people, by the way. The 99%, she has learned to put a mask on. It's role-playing for her. This is not like, nice. It's not a nice thing at all. The people in front of her right now, she is trying to indoctrinate. She is trying to manipulate and coerce. That's what she does best. She's practiced. She's been in the occult for many years. A good 30 years. Even in her hippie days, she was into witchcraft and all that. But now they've gotten even deeper. She has separated herself from humanity. You understand? People are goyams to her. They're just chattel. They're not even blood-pumping, heart-beating people to her. You're just tools that she can use to manipulate. And she's been doing a great job doing it. So, still, for those non-believers, knowing like what the stars upside down really are, so I got online, I looked at the definition, and it's incredible. Satanism, this symbol is inverted upside down to represent the rebellion or subversion of man, and is known as the sigil of Baphomet. It's used to cast a spell, manipulate, deceive, and coerce. Just as I was saying. It also then has 2 points facing up instead of one. And this is representative of the goat demon, Baphomet Satan. For hundreds of years, occultists have identified the symbol in this way to let the populace know they are in partnership with Satan. And they are in no way holy, generous, loving, or caring. You see, on stage, they portray a loving and caring. That is not the real person. They even prove it to you that behind your back, they have the star-spannered banner and with the stars upside down to show, I've got you. You're under my spell and I will kill you. I will use you to get ahead, to prosper. I am allowed, through Satan allows me, to take any man I want, to utilize them as I wish in order to achieve my agenda. And that's what they've done. She's doing it all the time. Don't you see, no matter who's in office, Hillary is there. It's like a rotating circus. It's all a charade. It's a facade, people. Fact. These people are so stupid, Christianity right out of America. Let me tell you something. America was built on Christian principles. Once they lose that, guess what? Their identity is totally lost, total dictatorship, total communism. We'll be living in a Marxist society.
Harvard University in 1636, named after the Reverend John Harvard. Its original motto was, Truth for Christ and the Church. Princeton's first president, the Reverend Jonathan Dickinson, said, Cursed be all learning that is contrary to the French. On my arrival in the United States, the religious aspect of the country was the first thing that struck my attention. In France, I had almost always seen the spirit of religion and the spirit of freedom pursuing courses diametrically opposed to each other. But in America, I found that they were intimately united and that they reigned in common over the same country. Later write, there is no country in the whole world in which the Christian religion retains a greater influence over the souls of men than in America. The Americans combine the notions of Christianity and of liberty so intimately it is impossible to make them conceive the one.
Look at Canada already. Canada is so screwed up, man. I cannot tell you. People say, oh, well, Canada has no problem. Bullshit. Canada takes it in the ass. Depending on America. America's our big brother. There's many of us are driving over that border every day. I'll tell you something. If shit hits the fan, you better believe we're supporting you. You have no idea how big the movement here is in Canada as well. We've had enough, too. We've had enough. We're just upset because we don't got no ARs. We don't got assault rifles, man. We just got shotguns, hunting rifles. But that's good enough. Because if we're fighting tyranny, if we are fighting the big, bad devil himself, the slave rider, then we will do what it takes. I will put my life on the line to defend liberty, the sovereignty of our country. That's what society has done for me. It's made me realize, hey, we're all in this thing together. 50 years from now, we won't be here. But for the time we're here, please, man, let's get along. Let's make a difference. We're all in this thing together. I always say it. It's called life. But there's people out there that want to take your life, take the breath from you. They want to charge you for every breath you take, for every gulp of water. You understand? When do we say, hey, you don't owe me. You don't own nothing of me. God gave me the right to breathe. That water, Canada had the best water in the whole world, but Monsanto's contaminating it. They're purposely doing this because they want to charge us for our own water. There will come a time, if we let this happen, there will come a time, people, when drinking water will be a thing of the past. When washing your automobiles with water from your hose will be literally a thing of the past. Those will be stories that grandparents will be telling their grandchildren. They'll be saying, oh, Grandpa, tell me about water. Tell me about water. Oh, yes, son, we used to be able to open a tap and drink water right out of the tap. Really, Grandpa? Really, Grandpa? Yep, there was lots of it, and it was everywhere. Wow, Grandpa, that's amazing. Wow, and that's what will happen. Do you want that to happen? Do you want them to truly take possession of things that are natural in this world, that are a God-given gift? We need to stop right now. Stop whatever it is that you're being influenced to do, manipulated and mind-controlled, and say, hey, let's think outside of the box. Think outside of that stupid TV set that's getting us defocused from the real issues. We're being enslaved. People say, well, taxes aren't too bad. They're only 15% at this time. Let me tell you something. Okay, you make $100. You pay 15% tax of that, let's say. So now you're at $85. What about when you go spend that money? That's another 15%. So how much are you getting screwed for? You understand? That is what's happening. They're doubling up on everything. We never used to see the price of logistics for a ball of ketchup coming to the table because fuel was cheap. They jack the prices up. As long as, Americans are dependent on oil, they can control us. They've got lots of alternative energies out there. Tons. The lies that hydrogen, oh my God, it's the most explosive gas in the world. Well, that's a crock of crap. They've got ways of making automobiles today that actually produce hydrogen on demand. As you need it, it throws it into the carburetor and away it goes. And guess how much it costs? Zero! Insurance. We here in Canada, we pay so much for insurance. We take it in the poop chute big time. Big time. And I found out recently just how they came about this insurance business, this insurance scam. Many moons ago, there was a guy trying to sell insurance. So what he did, he says, okay, listen, you buy insurance, your house get a flood, a fire, vandalism, we'll be able to cover it. And people are laughing at them. So they strategically took one street and said, we're going to burn one of those houses, and then we're going to build it. We're going to build it for those people, and we're going to let everybody see. So the people who actually bought insurance, they targeted a few of them, they burned their house down. Then they went and rebuilt their house, all brand new, nice and fancy. And the people thought, wow, holy cow, look at that. That guy only paid a couple of dollars a month, and look, they just rebuilt his whole house. Insurance is good. Everybody should get insurance, right? Well, what a scam that is, man. What a scam. Guess what? You need to drive your car in the street today? You must have insurance. For what? If you want to insure yourself, that's fine. Insurance should be a personal choice. If you want to drive in the street with no insurance, that's your prerogative. If you smash, you get hurt, that's your fault. If I smash into somebody else, he doesn't have insurance, that's too bad. He should know he should have insurance. Insurance should be for yourself, your only coverage. Not if you hit somebody else, cover that. No, everybody should have personal insurance because accidents are an accident. It's all a setup. Everything is done by design. Christ, you can only go 60 kilometers an hour at the most on any roads. The highway's what, 100, what is that, 70 miles an hour? But yet you ever realize the average grocery getter will go 160, 170 kilometers an hour. Maybe more, 180. I'm talking the Hyundai, the little 4-cylinder. Even a smart car will bury the needle. Why is that? You know what I mean? It's all done by design. These globalists know problems make money. Without a problem, there's no money to be made for these pricks. You know what I mean? Accidents, boom! Insurance companies make money. Auto body places make money. The gas station make it. You need gas, you need food, that's a problem. Well, gotta buy it. Money, money, money. You see how things work. We need to unite. We need to come together and say, you know what? Basta. There's an Italian saying that says, basta. Enough. Sick of you bastards. What do you think? We're that stupid? We're gonna pull over now? Now you think those foreign troops are gonna come over here? Realizing that the whole country is awake? Those guys would be like praying on their hands and knees saying, oh God, just let me get out of this thing alive. Because they're going to come over here and get the shit kicked out of them. Believe me when I tell you. Our American soldiers are top notch. Our war veterans have heart. They already proved themselves they defended their country. They're liberators. But yet now you've made them portray themselves as occupiers. And they're not. I'm just blowing off some real pissed off steam today, people, man. I'm Frank Serrano from Liberators of War. Remember, we're all in this thing together. It's not called making money, man. It's called life. What are you doing about it, man? Get together. For the 99%ers out there, I love you, man. Support your brother. And like I said,
this is Rev. Michelle Hopkins. Tonight I discovered something in the southernmost portion of Arizona, near the border of Arizona and Mexico, in the western portion of that border. This is what I discovered. This is a huge prison complex, fully operational, people living there. First of all, there is a road that goes around the entire complex, lined with a fence that goes around the entire complex. Inside that fence and road, there's another road that goes around this portion of the complex. This is portion number 1. Inside that road is another fence line, and when you take a look at the fence line, you realize it is bent inward with barbed wire. Very high and bent inward toward the facility, meaning this fence is not to keep people out, it is not to keep people safe, it is to keep people in. That automatically makes it a prison. We have light and camera all along in between this fence line and this barbed wire fence line, which is the basic layout of a prison. Part 1 of the complex, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a center building with one large field in the middle. All of the buildings seem to be fairly well equipped. They have central air units on the outsides of the buildings, very bright LED lighting in the yard, and of course lots of guard shacks in the yard and around the entire facility. Look at part 2. It's very different. In this part of the facility, we see outside cages where people can go if they've gotten in scuffles and so forth. Their outside time is spent in a cage. And each one of these barracks has its own fenced-in yard. In area number 3, it would seem to be a little lesser punishment. We have basketball courts. This one actually has people on it. guard shacks, baseball diamond. Each building has its own fenced-in area, as well as the main yard. This is a massive prison facility. I would say this one is really high-tech. Very high-tech prison facility. I'll show you where the workers live. A little bit more luxurious, with swimming pools here and other recreational facilities and satellite TV. And all of these things didn't really bother me. I saw a lot of FEMA vehicles. That concerned me. Now this is one thing that concerned me. Not just buses for the inmates, but lots of FEMA vehicles. These appear to be FEMA vehicles, and we find them throughout the facility, driving around the area, FEMA vehicles. Like that. Lots and lots of FEMA vehicles. Both prisoner transport vehicles that are FEMA and individual agent vehicles. That concerned me. Number one, this facility is not listed among the prisons in Arizona, though it is a very prominent prison out in the middle of the desert east of Yuma, Arizona. Now, associated with this prison, across the road are these very strange fields. When I looked at them, they're pits of some sort, fairly deep, I'd say about 6 feet deep or so, 8 down and 8 across, with some in the middle, with a huge long pit in the middle, so deep that water has seeped into it. In the middle of these pits is what I believe to be a killing field. This is what disturbed me more than anything else. One of these pits that has been dug down into has a fence around the entire pit. It's an entire pit, just open, where you could bring a great many people to stand around. There's no place to sit. There's no place for recreation. There's no one digging there. The only thing in this pit, besides one lamp giving light to only this area of the pit, is this structure. Now realize this is smaller than one of those FEMA vehicles. That's how zoomed in we are. This is about the size of a FEMA bus. It's not as tall as this light outside the fence line that is showing only on this area. Now as we zoom in a little bit, we see this structure laying down flat. This is a platform. This is a light with a shadow. In front of this platform is another pit, a spill pit. What we see right here seems to be a slab, perhaps a slab a person could lay on for punishment. The only punishment, it seems to me, that could be meted in this great huge field with nothing but standing room, one light, one instrument of torture or death, would be a guillotine. This looks like the plank the person lays on. It turns down and is pushed into the guillotine. The person's head goes here, And if you look down on the ground already, it would seem that this may have already been used once or twice. Where are the bodies? Perhaps they have already been packaged. Now, we have in this country states that allow beheading as part of capital punishment as a choice for the person who is being punished so that their organs can be saved for transplantation. Arizona is not one of those states. Lethal injection for persons sentenced after 11/15/92, and those sentenced before that date may select lethal injection or lethal gas. Those are the only two forms of capital punishment Arizona offers, which tells me that there's a reason why this prison is not on the map as far as being a state prison in Arizona. It's not even listed as a prison. It's just there. Let me introduce to you the Illuminati card game's method of New World Order tax reform. A famous, rather vulgar comedian came up with a song saying that there is a death that both Jews and Christians could really appreciate. But instead of using an axe to chop off their heads, they should use a hacksaw. In Revelation 13, we are told, the beast, that is the Antichrist, was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God, and to slander his name and his dwelling place, and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people. The Antichrist, my friends, is going to be waging war against us, God's holy people. If you believe in Jesus Christ, if you are a blood-bought, born-again believer in Jesus Christ, if you follow God, it says in Revelation 13, the Antichrist is going to have power to wage war against us and to conquer us. It says in verse 7, it was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them, and it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. That verse does not say that every person who is living on the earth is going to worship the beast, and therefore the only people that are here on the earth are non-Christians. That's not what that verse says. That verse says, all those whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life will worship the beast. Because we're told in the very verse in front of that verse, those who believe in God and follow Jesus Christ, the holy ones of God, they are going to be martyred. Verse 9, whoever has ears, let them hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword, they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. My friends, we are going to be here for the duration. In Revelation 6, during the 5th seal, those who were martyred for the Lord were told to wait a little while longer until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. And this is in the 5th seal of Revelation during the Great Tribulation. Folks, we are here being martyred for the Lord during the Great Tribulation. Jesus comes on the last day, at the last trumpet. That is when the dead in Christ rise. That is when we go to meet him in the air and go with him to Jerusalem for Armageddon. And after that, the wedding supper of the Lamb, which happens in Jerusalem, by the way, right after Armageddon, as Jesus takes his throne in Jerusalem for 1,000 years to rule and reign, and we with him, who follow him and believe him and who are caught up to be with him, and from that day on are with him forevermore. We are going to be here for the duration, according to Revelation, according to Matthew, according to Luke, and every other prophecy. We are here when Jesus returns on the last day at the last trump. We are here when the Antichrist is warring against God's people. We are God's people. We will be warred against. Even as God's wrath is coming down upon them, their wrath will be coming down upon us. They will be conquering us. But praise be to God, we are greater than conquerors in him, because greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. This is Rev. Michelle Hopkins. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.
This is not supposed to scare you. This is only supposed to prepare you. For those of us who have been watching and studying the Word of God, we know about the prophecy that says that the Christian saints will be beheaded for their faith in the last days. During the tribulation hour, many will fall away from the faith because of fear. In fact, the very first ones thrown in hell are the fearful and cowards, Revelation 21:8. We are so close to the hour in which our faith is going to be drastically tested. They've passed a law saying that guillotines can now be used in America for capital punishment. I'm going to show you the law. I'm going to show you the scriptures. I'm going to show you everything you need so that you know that the hour is finally here. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue to live a lukewarm carnal life? Or are you going to do what Jesus said and lay your life down, pick up your cross and follow him while you still have time? Brothers and sisters, time is almost over. We don't have any more time. We're going to be judged very soon. We're going to be tested very soon. It's time to get serious about our faith and build up in the grace of God and stop wasting our time. Pray for courage, endurance, strength, strong faith, and increased love for the name of Jesus. That way you'll have everything you need to endure the time and the testing that's coming upon us.
Christian greetings, everyone.
This is Nicholas from Presence of God Ministry welcoming you to this week's Truth Provided broadcast. The website is www.remnantofgod.org. So let's get right to it. Revelation 20, verse 4 says, "And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands." The prophecy clearly declares that some of the children of God that do not go along with the papacy's mark will find themselves at the business end of a guillotine. All too often, though, the argument arises, how can we, as a modern and more civilized people, use guillotines? I mean, would this not be barbaric as well as insane in today's age? After all, we're civilized, and execution methods of the Dark Ages are just plain outdated. Therefore, this must prove the prophecy of Revelation chapter 20 to be completely false, right? Well, you may want to suggest to those that speak such words that they should hold on to their hats. A couple of years ago, I made a statement that information had crossed my desk regarding the reality that thousands of guillotines were being stored on American soil. Not too long ago, I received word that the information received regarding the guillotines was not only accurate, it was actually being lobbied in Washington, D.C. to get them legalized for governmental use. Georgia and Montana as the recipients of these guillotines. 15 or 30,000 guillotines have been shipped to Georgia as well as Montana for safekeeping until such a time as they're needed. If it's true, what are they up to? Some of us may recall the video of a man being electrocuted in a Georgia prison facility. We know that if you do not place water on the sponge upon the man's head, his death will not only be prolonged and extremely violent, his head will actually ignite during the process. Fact is, many are aware, state executions are never videotaped as well. However, some tape appears of a man being electrocuted in Georgia, and it somehow surfaces in the general public. They did not place water as a necessary conductor in that sponge, because the video did in fact show the man's head igniting after he bounced around for quite some time in that chair. To think someone would actually put someone through such a torture act so as to just get the law lobbied? Why do you suppose a video would surface of an execution when videos are never made at executions, from what I understand, and most certainly never released to the public if they were made? And why do you suppose they somehow forgot to place water on their sponge? Well, the answer is plain. The video was released so the American public can see it and complain about the inhumane methods used, thereby giving the government officials a springboard to start lobbying process for guillotines. The governing officials in Georgia were shouting it was inhumane to kill people like this. The prophecy declares that some will be killed by guillotine, and that is what must occur. Not long ago, after that video surfaced, many state officials, including the governor of that state, started a massive campaign to stop executions by electrocution. But was their decided choice for execution, you ask? A no-brainer, huh? The guillotine. Now, some of you may be asking why we would have government officials lobbying for laws that would require guillotines as a way to kill those they deem worthy of death. And so the common sense question would be, of a non-believer, why? With our technology, with all our civilized ways, with all our humane laws, what would drive men to kill with such a thing as a guillotine? Money, money, money. That's right, folks. The almighty dollar bill is what they worship. They truly serve the god of mammon. We're living in an age when we see commercials on TV telling everyone in the USA to sign the backs of their driver's licenses so they can harvest our organs for profit. The doctors jump at the first opportunity to harvest your dead loved ones before they even have a chance to get cold on the table. Think of it. You can now get over $40,000 for one kidney. Imagine what an entire human body is worth. Why would guillotines represent the better option? Why don't they choose lethal injection as an alternative? I mean, it seems peaceful. Let's get back to common sense. Because the organs would be poisoned and not worthy of harvesting. Bottom line, you can't make money. What I'm about to share with you is an excerpt from Bill number 1274 in the Georgia House of Representatives. You can view the entire bill on the Georgia House of Representatives website. Notice how the bill lets the cat out of the bag as to why they wanted the guillotines in the first place, and it's not as they said when they brought it to the public's attention. This is Georgia House of Representatives, or 95-96 sessions, the House Bill 1274, Death Penalty Guillotine Provisions, Code Section 17-10-38-17-1044, Section 1. I'm just going to read you these two small paragraphs. It's from line 11 to 16, and then it jumps to 18 to 115. Nothing to it. It says, law. To amend Article 2 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the death penalty, generally so as to provide a statement of legislative policy to provide for death by guillotine, to provide for applicability to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Now listen to this paragraph. The General Assembly finds that while prisoners condemned to death may wish to donate one or more of their organs for transplant, any such desire is thwarted by the fact that electrocution makes all such organs unsuitable for transplant. The intent of the General Assembly in enacting this legislation is to provide for a method of execution which is compatible with the donation of organs by a condemned prisoner. The video that was released of the man in the electric chair declared quite boldly, "This is inhumane." Did it not, for those of us that saw it? Yet we see here in the wording of the Georgia House Bill number 1274, their main concern is not whether or not it's inhumane. The bill states plainly, electrocution makes all such organs unsuitable for transplant. Think about how advantageous this beheading affords them. Our technology is such that these headless bodies can be kept alive indefinitely with the machinery that we have in our hospitals today, so as to assure the organs stay fresh. Let's imagine, let me ask you, if you're in jail, for whatever reason, the government has put you there, and they decide you have to die, what choice of execution are you going to take? Seriously, what person in their right mind is going to say, "Fry me, I want to bounce around for a few moments in writhing pain"? The prophecy declares the children of God will be jailed and executed by guillotine. And we see that soon that will be the case in Georgia. And quite honestly, I do believe they will not give the prisoners a choice on this anyway. When the money starts funneling in, death by guillotine will become mandatory. I mean, common sense again. Did they ever give people a choice not to be electrocuted in the past? So why would they let them decide in the future? For whatever reason they think of. Many of us will be indeed blessed with the wonderful opportunity to die a martyr's death for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We'll have that blue ribbon around the base of our robe in heaven for eternity. And don't think it'll stop in Georgia. 30,000 guillotines is a bit much for one state. They always start somewhere and move on from there. So does anyone know how many large cities there are in the USA? Are there 30,000 of them? I truly don't know, but if you divide 30,000 guillotines by 50 states, you come up with 600 guillotines per state. And I know there's not that many big cities. I mean, you got Chicago, you got New York, you got L.A., you got Miami, you got some big cities, but then you got some of the smaller cities like, say, Champaign, Illinois, or even Oak Lawn, Illinois, and stuff like that, But will they be used as a scare tactic? Well, yeah, sure. They're going to use it as a scare tactic. You better believe it. And by the way, how do you suppose Christians will end up behind bars? Sure, most of us will have fabricated crimes designed around us. There are certain crimes that they're going to put against us that we may be convicted of that we don't even know how, where they're coming from. And what are some of these certain crimes? Headline, national issue. One court for all the world. Now, this is an old article, of course, but it bears hearing at this point. A United Nations meeting in Rome is wrapping up 5 weeks of work on a proposed international criminal court. The new court would have worldwide jurisdiction and could investigate, indict, hold, try, and punish those who committed certain crimes. The proposed international criminal court would subject Americans to a new world authority. Why are they so vague about the certain crimes? And what do you suppose a certain crime would be for Rome? From Joshua Strong's book, Our Country, chapter 5, paragraphs 2 to 4, it says, the Archbishop of St. Louis said this, heresy and unbelief are crimes. But anyway, the article says, here, heresy and unbelief are crimes, and in Christian countries, as in Italy and Spain, for instance, where all people are Catholics, and where the Catholic religion is an essential part of the law of the land, they are punished as crimes. Every cardinal, archbishop, and bishop in the Catholic Church takes an oath of allegiance to the Pope, in which occur the following words, heretics, schismatics, and rebels to our said Lord the Pope, or his aforesaid successors, I will to my utmost persecute and oppose. The Vatican has the one world court. The Vatican has the one world church. And the people of God will be arrested for certain crimes. And the United States of America will do exactly as prophecy said it would. It will help Rome kill the Christians and enforce the mark of the beast. And of course, many of us will choose death. Many of us will choose death. Many of us will choose death over denying the truth we know in Christ. Praise God.
Good morning, everybody. This is April 16th, 2015, and I'm Cindy K. Courier. And it is a rainy day here at Lake Norman, but it's a little chilly, so it's still pretty out there on the lake. I want to thank all of you who have written and provided input on the Articles of Confederation for the Res Publica for the United States of America, and we've gotten some great input below the videos. Really good input in a Facebook group called Living Without Money, which I'd like to invite you to join. Also, some good discussion in the Skype room and via email. So let me give you all that information so that you can join these discussions. Of course, below this video, which would probably be the easiest if you're watching this, rise.together is the Skype contact. cindyk@gmail.com is my email. And what's the other one? I don't remember, but the website to go to look at the articles is AmericanLawOfTheLand.com, and click on Articles of Confederation. And you'll see, if you click on driving, while we were sleeping, we hit 1,000 subscribers to this channel, so thank you. Okay, I got an email from someone yesterday who asked not to be identified. He didn't say much. He just asked a question that got me really thinking. He wanted to know if I related the Walmart closings in the Southwest that we talked about yesterday to the tunnels. And to be honest with you, I knew about tunnels and I knew about the Walmart closings, but there were some other things about Walmart that I didn't know. And so I want to thank you, you know who you are, that prompted this investigation. This morning I decided to enter 3 words in a Google search: Walmart, DHS, and tunnels. And I want to share with you now what I came up with. Let me put my glasses on. This, as you can see at the top of this page, says this page is an outdated user-generated website brought to you by an archive. It was mirrored from GeoSites at the end of October 2009. For any questions concerning this page, try to contact the respective author, and they give a site here. This says the official Walmart tunnels of Paulding County investigation. In order to further protect the homeland and ensure the safety of its citizens in case of nuclear, biological, or chemical attack, a joint venture of the NSA, DOD, MIB, DHS, CICs, DFCS, and BK has been created in order to create an expansive tunnel system throughout the South. These tunnels will also serve as conduits for national defense to rapidly move troops, supplies, and armor throughout the nation between strategic topographical locations. A map of the believed military and government installations affected and connected by this tunnel system, Paulding County, Georgia, is said to be the central location of the project. Yorkville, Georgia, is to be a terminus of sorts for the hubs in Anniston, Alabama, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Macon, Georgia, Outlook Mountain, Tennessee, Lockheed Martin in Marietta, Georgia. Walmart's involvement in the project has not yet been officially commented on, but it is generally perceived that Walmarts in these areas are staging areas for the tunnel project. It is to be noted that this project is under a great deal of scrutiny by those who live near the ongoing construction project. Analysts do not believe the project will be available for public use and will not be publicly acknowledged. Rumors of usage by NASA for its installation in Huntsville, Alabama have been found to be true. Okay, you sleuths out there. You know, we've been saying that we, to do our due diligence. Those who live in these areas, we've been encouraging you to take your cameras, take pictures, pay attention to what's going on at Walmart. What a better way to access tunnels than through what would look like plumbing. And if you do some searches on this, you'll see that people are posting information that no permits have been accessed or applied for by Walmart to do that kind of work. So, none of us really think there's plumbing stuff going on. What is going on? It looks like tunnel stuff, actually. So, that's pretty interesting. So, that gives us another direction to look, doesn't it? As you know, I usually, I don't want to go off cocked on things. That was a 2009 post. Who did it come from? Not sure. I didn't write to Geosites to find out. But what I did do was pay closer attention to another post that was made yesterday. In 2010, this came out, and someone posted in one of the groups yesterday from NBCnews.com, Homeland Security taps new partner in terror fight, Walmart. By month's end, 588 stores will participate in See Something, Say Something campaign. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has enlisted a new partner in its fight against terrorism, Walmart. Let's just see what this video says.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Walmart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
Down here in this article it says Fogelman, I guess he's a Walmart guy, said employees won't receive any special training as part of the program, but Walmart managers do work closely with local police. Okay. So I'm going to put this link below the video so you can check out that article as well as the link to this. Let's take a look. We want to take a look at some of these tunnels here. This was posted by the Kim Rob on March 7th, 2013.
Goes all the way to Washington, D.C., huh? Goes all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you Homeland Security? Yeah. How far have you taken this down to, how far have you actually ran a load? 100 miles? Up to Maine? No shit. How many miles do you think that is? Man, that's unbelievable. Not to mention, I heard there's one that goes all the way to Colorado, right? Unbelievable. What do you think you're hauling? Any idea? Crap. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Crap makes all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I know there's been a lot of military stuff being hauled around lately, that's for sure, huh? Yeah. We deliver to them. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I heard there's water supply, food supply, everything's in there. Yeah, unbelievable. You don't get no cell phone service. No. Peace, brother. underground roadway system here that runs all the way to Maine, to Washington, D.C., to Colorado. It's fully stocked. It runs completely underground. And you can see they've been hauling tons of military equipment. They're stocking all these bases. Now, the other thing is the railroad system here is also very strategic. They're bringing in boxcar loads, and they're dump shipping here, and they can really deliver to all these locations, which these locations go all the way to Area 51. These locations go all the way to Washington, D.C. There's access underneath the White House to this location. Okay? So this...
Okay, it's hard to hear him because he's got a lot of wind, but I'm going to post this beneath the video so you can watch the whole thing. Thank you, Kim Rob, for this post. Let's take a look at it. A post by this person, JRAE50021.
He thought he had been to every single base in America, right? And then he got contracted to do a truck haul for some top secret stuff. So it was a load where he wasn't even allowed to look inside the load or anything. Like, he had to go, drop his truck off.
And while this video is going, by the way, I'm going to show you images from this video. They don't go together, but I'm going to put them together to save time and just to give you an image to watch. This is a still while he's talking. So let's continue.
Like the night before, and then come back the next morning and pick up his truck all loaded up and sealed, and he had all this like documents and stuff. They told him that he had to go out to a place called A.L.N, Texas, with 2 A's, right? And they said turn off on this turn off, and it was like 178B. It wasn't even to a street. Pretty cool stuff. So he was driving, he got to the turn off, and turned off. There's just a dirt road going in the desert. So he goes putting down this desert thing. He gets to like a shack, and there's like a shanty town around, and there's those big old like oil things. Oil things, yeah, but they aren't pumping or nothing. And he just says he's seen a Jeep, like a military Jeep, and one guard inside the shack around this like mess. So he goes up, and the guard tells him, well, stay in your truck, let me see your paperwork, all this stuff. He says, all right, I want you to pull your truck over there, stay inside the cabin. Like, I'm gonna pull on these papers. Calls, he says that these 2 Hummers come up around the sand dune, and they pull over, and they pull into this blind spot, and then like a master chief comes over, tells him to switch his radio over to a certain channel and to follow the Hummers, and he gives him back his bill of lading, like his slip. He's like, you're gonna need this when you get to the dock. So he's following the Hummers, and he's going up this hill, right? And he says he's driving this big rig. He's been driving big rig for 15 years at the time. Driving this big rig, going up the hill, and he sees the top of the hill, and then all of a sudden he's going down. He doesn't realize that he just, like, entered something. And the voice comes over the radio, and it tells him to turn on his headlights. So he turns on his headlights, and he said he drove about 3 miles down, doing hatchbacks down into the ground. He said there was an entire underground city in the middle of the desert. And they took him to a dock and had him wait in a room, and he had to give him that last paper. And they took all the stuff off his truck, and then they had him escorted back out. He said, Mike, I have never in my life seen anything that extravagant. It was literally a city. There was laundromats, there was everything you could think of down there. But I couldn't see much of it because I couldn't leave the loading dock area.
Was there people there?
Yeah. Thousands.
Thousands of people.
He said this is literally a city, yeah. He said there's military personnel everywhere. And we're talking, he said, there were buildings in there that were 7 stories tall underneath the ground.
Wow.
Hey, that's some shit.
Places.
Okay. Pretty interesting, eh? Yeah, I think so. So that gives us some more to investigate. And we'll be back with more a little bit later, perhaps. But that's all for now. Thank you for listening. Take care.
Well, when it comes to this Walmart mystery and all the suspicion surrounding it and the excuse that plumbing's going on at 4 or 5 of these different facilities has brought a lot of questions up, and a lot of people have been digging here and there to see what they can come up with. I want to give a shout out to everybody out there, Rise Together, and those on Twitter that help share these links. This information is being brought up that Walmart has been in this special kind of partnership in this war against terror with DHS. All the proof is right here. This is from 2010. They even put out a video clip, which I'll share at the very end, which they were going to play in Walmarts in every aisle. And it's on their official channel here. Okay? And they say that if you see anything suspicious at Walmart in the parking lot, report it to the police or your Walmart manager. This will help to identify and report indicators of terrorism, crime, and threats to law enforcement. Now, in this information, in digging, we come to find out that there has been projects in different areas, not specifically tied to the exact Walmarts that have closed down at the moment, but they could very well be going through a process connecting them to an underground network. And this is a very real situation. This was brought up years and years ago, over a decade ago, when in Georgia they were getting the funding and passing this Homeland Security in order to secure the safety of citizens in case of a nuclear, biological, chemical, or other attack. This was a joint venture by the NSA, DOD, DHS. You can see them all listed here. And these tunnels were to serve as conduits from specific places to rapidly move supplies or whatever they need between these locations. Now, there was big-time facilities listed right here, but the main one being in Georgia because it was center to everything. It was to be the main hub. Now you have all this information here talking about these underground connections to these Walmart facilities. And you even have the discussion and the feedback. I'll leave all this here. But this basically talks about installations in Anniston, Alabama, another one in Georgia, Lockheed in Marietta, Lookout Mountain in Tennessee, Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina, and Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina areas. And this Paulding, Yorkville area was the first location that this was going to kick off at. Now, I've left links here so you guys can come back and read up on all the details. But at this point, if there's anything big time going on, the only way that we're going to know for sure is to have people on the ground watching these Walmart facilities and filming to see exactly what's going on. Are there certain Walmarts out there that have underground connections? Well, no doubt. I wouldn't doubt it one bit, especially now that we know the DHS over the past decade has had this deal with not only Walmart but other big sports stadiums and places like that and businesses. This has been Dabu 7. Eyes open.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Walmart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
Hi, everybody. This is Lisa Haven, and I've got lots of important information that I want to cover with you today, so I just want to jump right in. But here's the headline: a storm coming and all hell to break loose in 2015. If not, why are the elite preparing with FEMA camps? And I'm going to show evidence for this. Martial law as well. UN gun grab. That's your arms treaty. If you have not heard of that, that's going to be signed on Christmas Day. And climate chaos. And I've got a shocking statement from the French foreign minister of a massive warning on that. So just hang with me as we dive in. All right, so here's our first article I want to cover, and it's patriotnetdaily.com, and we're going to sit here for just a little bit. But the calm before the storm, all hell will break loose 2015, FEMA and DHS, and this is by John P&D. But let's just dive right into this thing. Something big is about to happen. So many say that they can feel it in their bones. Now, I will be the first one to admit that I feel it in my bones as well, and many viewers out there have stated a similar thing. Could it be in 2015? I don't know. I'm not trying to prophesy or predict anything. What I want to do as a news reporter is just say, hey, I know something's coming soon in the future at some time, and I'm going to give you all the evidence and let you decide. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and enter into this post. But FEMA and DHS. All right. A migration to underground hideouts began 2 years ago in earnest for members of the Alphabet Soup Agency retirees. I knew one of these refugees personally, and he pointed to 2015 as the time when he anticipated that all hell was going to break loose. I wrote an article about the defection of my FEMA contact, his family, and like-minded individuals from FEMA and DHS almost 2 years ago. Pastor Lindsey William recently sent me an email regarding a survival tip for the difficult times ahead. Pastor Williams has been a guest on my show several times, and I sent him back an email asking when he would like to come back on my show. He responded that he has stopped doing interviews. His message indicated it is almost time to stop talking and to start preparing for some very dark days. How do I know? Some of my very best contacts have told me that it is time to stop warning the people because it is now time to start hiding from the wrong people. My initial reaction is to not believe them, but there are too many well-placed sources to not take seriously. So let's just pause right there. First of all, obviously, we know he's stating, hey, it's time to stop talking about it and start taking actions to prepare for these things that are coming up. And I know personally, I have inside people as well who are warning that these things are in our near future. So we just need to have a heads up and start taking everything seriously. This is the warning they are giving us on Patriot News Daily. But it goes on. Jim Mars saw the warning on the wall 5 years ago. In a December 9th, 2012 interview on the Common Sense Show, Jim Mars discussed how approximately 400 to 500 top-level bankers have left their position and have gone into seclusion. Now, let me just stop right there before I move on. This is 100% fact. I did a post just this week about bankers that have either committed suicide or bankers that have left their positions, gone into hiding and things like that. If you want to check that out, you can go to my YouTube channel, but let's go on. Mars reminded my listening audience of how the elite have developed seed vaults, which only they have access to. Mars was clearly alluding to the fact that some very bad events are coming, and the global elite are aware of it and are moving to meet the threat. I have firsthand knowledge of 4 ex-Fed officers and their families who have relocated to safety enclaves when doing so was very disruptive to their respective family lives. Increasingly, it is looking like some major events is and are coming, and persons with inside information are attempting to remove themselves from harm's way. Jim Mars will be a guest for 3 hours, and he gives on December 7th, 2014 to discuss this and other issues. Pause right there. I highly encourage you guys to check that out. They've got some good information. But going on, another media friend of mine, Paul Martin of Revolutionary Radio, has been repeatedly telling me that several key contacts of his from various alphabet soup agencies, as well as other military, have or are leaving the country in anticipation of what is coming. In the past 2 weeks, I have had a number of phone calls from media people who are telling me that their sources are repeating the same mantra, or they are just dropping off the radar. Get ready for 2015. Now, like I also stated in an earlier post, there has been an increase in emergency alert tests across the nation, either doing media blackout tests or alert system tests on the television. We had, I don't remember the channel, but there was a channel that had an emergency alert. Here, let me take you to that. Here we are. And I'll leave a link for this as well, but this was an emergency alert notification that flashed across people's screens. And this was back October 24th, 2014, so just a couple months ago, not that long. But it said, this is an emergency action notification. All broadcast stations and cable systems shall transmit this emergency notification message. The station has been interrupted by its regular programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. It goes on to say, I just forwarded it a little bit, during this emergency, most stations will remain on air, providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is AGST-GAO2. We will continue to serve the UVerse area. If you are not in the local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the UVerse area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines could be kept open for emergency use. We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. Anyhow, that is kind of the gist of it right there. So going back, now that's not the only emergency alert test that we've had. We had, like I said, the one that I got a phone call for. And this I showed on my YouTube video, probably one or two YouTubes back. But basically, I had an emergency communication red alert test, and it was done in my entire town, not just here, but our entire town. And these tests are apparently being conducted all across America in different counties and whatnot. And obviously, they've been performed all throughout time, but there does seem to be an uptick in these particular emergency communications, because I've owned my own house for, I don't know how long, but around on or below 15 years-ish, I've owned my own home, and I've never had this happen, and just recently this has happened to me. So we have all these emergency alerts being broadcast by TV, on television, on internet, where they're doing media blackout. I did show you guys in a post earlier that they went on a rampage and blacked out media for a couple of hours. These are tests that they're doing to prepare for something in advance. Now let's go on. We are in the calm before the storm period. And it states, the late summer and early fall were abuzz with the latest rumors about Ebola. Many of us in the independent media spent countless hours debunking the misinformation putting out by the CDC, e.g. the existence of a previous vaccine, the fact that it is airborne, etc. And just as soon as the Ebola stories peaked in October, somebody in the MSM flipped a switch and virtually all meaningful reports disappeared from the news. Why? Good question. The reason for Ebola's disappearance from the media is simple. It was Christmas shopping time. Makes a lot of sense. America has become a service economy. Most of the retail shopping for the year happens between Halloween and the end of the year. The financial success tied to the Christmas shopping is based upon the fact that people must trust that it is safe to go out into the public. If the public perceived that Ebola could be contracted by going out in public, the Christmas shopping season could be stopped in its tracks, and globalist corporations would not be able to maximize profits. However, this is all about to change. So let's just pause for a moment. I have to say that I agree with him 100%. One of the reasons that we felt this pause in the Ebola information is because they wanted us not to be afraid and to get out there and shop, which is exactly what America did. And we went about our Black Fridays as normal, so to speak. He goes on, what was the Ebola scare all about? Many mistakenly believe that the Ebola scare has been mitigated and nothing could be further from the truth. Isn't it interesting that we never saw a toxicology report about the so-called victims of Ebola? When some of these victims somehow recovered against all odds, these people were kept away from the media. Why? Many of us have privately concluded that we in the U.S. are not dealing with traditional Ebola. What we are dealing with in the U.S. has something designed to give the impression that we are on the verge of an Ebola pandemic in the U.S. Why would the CDC go through such an elaborate charade? The answer is quite simple. The appearance the U.S. was on the verge of the Ebola pandemic gave rise to the governmental preparations that would not raise an eyebrow from an unaware public. And what preparations am I talking about? I am talking about martial law preparations, which could easily be morphed from a form of medical martial law to politically motivated martial law related to not only a pandemic, but to an economic collapse. And believe me, if Ebola or some other dangerous pathogen makes its way into mainstream America, the economy will collapse because people will not be eating out, shopping, attending sports events and concerts, and the service economy as we know it will crumble in a matter of days. Let's pause right there. I agree. You know, I don't necessarily know if Ebola is what it is that's going to crumble our economy. I guess time is going to be the ultimate factor, but I guess it's there. And in a moment, I'm also going to give you a shocking statement from the French foreign minister about a bold statement he said about something that could be hitting us sometime in September. So make sure you're hanging out for that, because there's just a lot of things that are coming at us, and I want to make you aware of all of it. And like I said, Ebola is definitely one of those on the forefront, and they are planning with martial law. This is 100% fact. Now, if you aren't aware of the Arms Trade Treaty, let me take you there. All right, so here I am on United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs, and yes, this is a legit organization. Sadly, it's part of the UN, as you can see here. But they have an arms treaty that will enter into force on December 24th, 2014. Merry flippin' Christmas, everyone. You know something is bad when they sign it on a holiday or they enter it into force on a holiday. This throws up a lot of red flags for me. All right, so let's check this thing out. Here's the actual document. I will leave links, as I always do, but basically here are some of the objectives and purposes, but it's to establish the highest possible common international standards for regulating or improving the regulation of an international trade in conventional arms. Basically, they want a world treaty of sorts that has to deal with the trading of arms. So there will be limitations on arms internationally. You know, it's not a full-fledged gun grab, so to speak, but it is putting certain limitations on the trading of arms and whatnot. It is not good. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you reading over it. But here's further stuff that it says: to prevent and eradicate the illicit trade in conventional arms and prevent their diversion. The purpose of contributing to international and regional peace, security, and stability, reduce human suffering. See, they always use it as a cause to protect humanity, when we all know that guns protect us. They don't keep us from suffering like they are trying to promote. I'm a big pro Second Amendment gal. But it goes on: promoting cooperation, transparency, and responsible action by states parties in the international trade in conventional arms, thereby building confidence among state parties. But it goes on to say what exactly this includes. Is, as you can see, it also includes your small arms and light weapons. But that kind of gives you an idea of what this thing is on. But this is not good news for us. This tells me that their goal, obviously, especially considering they have a division of the United Nations 100% devoted to disarmament of the world, so to speak, and specifically they want to do that here in America. But this tells me that one of their goals is to de-arm us so they can have ultimate control. Because how do you control the people? You take away their weapons. You have a Stalin-style, Hitler-style Mao-style rule. Disarm the people and the government basically will take over. So this is not something that you ever want to support, but this is a big issue coming up December 22nd. If you have not heard of that, now you have that information. Going back. All right, so here we are back at the Patriot News Daily, and he goes on, martial law preparations arising out of Ebola scare. I just showed you that they do plan on having that arms trade treaty come across real soon. And like I said, it's going to put some limitations on our guns, and be aware stuff is coming down. By this point in the article, some are saying that, okay, Dave, name some sources, something concrete that we can wrap our minds around. And I just showed you something concrete. And these people are correct in demanding as much concrete information as possible. I agree. There is a point in the article where logic and common sense outweigh doubt and cognitive dissonance. Judge a man by his actions, not by his word. Forget everything you think you know and learn about Ebola scare of this past summer and fall. Simply consider the actions and implications of the following event. Now, I'm going to show you another document in a moment. But here he says, the U.S. has detailed procedures to deal with a pandemic outbreak, and it carries the force of law. Under Section 361 of the Public Health Act, 42 U.S. Code and 264, the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services is authorized to take measures to prevent the entry and spread of communicable disease from foreign countries in the U.S. and between states. The authority for carrying out these functions on a daily basis has been delegated to the Centers for the CDC control. The CDC utilizes two basic strategies when trying to contain a public outbreak of something as deadly as Ebola, and they are these two things: isolation and quarantine. All right, here we are at the actual code, 42 U.S. Code 264, regulations to control communicable diseases. If you want to pause and read this, you can, but it verifies all of what he just spoke about. I'm not going to get into it, but I'll leave you a link. Back to the post. So he goes on, Paul Watson opened a lot of eyes with the following statement. The source, an office clerk within the LADHS, said that during a policy meeting on the morning of June 18th of last month, his supervisor announced that the LA County Department of Health Services has struck a deal with the government to open up low-cost housing facilities for homeless people, otherwise known as FEMA camps. The source said that his superior ordered staff not to use the term FEMA camps. One look at who is behind this program should raise eyebrows of every person, as it is being ministered by the Department of Health Services. And here is the quote. In an effort to respond to the high need for recuperative care services, Housing for Health will open a 38-bed recuperative care site in South LA this summer. The goal of recuperative care is to provide short-term housing with health oversight of homeless DHS patients who are recovering from acute illnesses or injury or of conditions that would be exacerbated by living on the street or in shelters. The site was renovated to serve patients with mobility impairments and provides wheelchair accessible communities, space indoors, and in an open air courtyard. The site will be operated by LAMP Community, a nonprofit agency with over 25 years of experience providing services to homeless individuals. Now, while this sounds absolutely fascinating and good, there is more to the story. Because remember, they are hiding it. It is bringing these homeless people to FEMA camps. And we don't know exactly what is going on there, but we know that they are bringing them to FEMA camps, and they are told not to call them FEMA camps, even though that is what they are. And he goes on, can't talk about FEMA camps. Where there is smoke, there is fire. A memo from Health and Human Services, as administered by the CDC, speaks about setting up isolation facilities. Todd Stearns, Fox News contributor and talk show host, has interviewed unidentified sources, including doctors, nurses, and counselors, who say that while working with the new illegal immigrants at the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, and he found that these civilian employees are being threatened by the East Germany Stasi contingent of the Department of Health Security with prison If they report how bad the health conditions are and how much at risk American public is being placed under. Keep that in mind. We are taking people to these places, but they are told they're not allowed to talk about it with the threat of imprisonment. Now, here's an excerpt from his report from Stearns' Fox News. We have so many kids coming in that there was no way to control all of the sickness. All this stuff coming into our country, she said. We were very concerned at one point about strep throat going around the base. Both the counselor and the nurse said the superiors tried to cover up the extent of the illness. When they found out the kids had scabies, the charge nurse was adamant. Don't mention that. Don't say scabies, the nurse recounted. But everybody knew they had scabies. Some of the workers were very concerned about touching things and picking things up. They asked if they should be concerned, but they were told not to worry about it. Kind of like we're told with Ebola and other things that come out and about. Now, sorry about that. The Stearns report issued an ominous warning, and he said, my sources say America should be very concerned about the secrecy of the government camps. This is a huge warning. People constantly say that these things are not real, yet this is exactly where they are sending our homeless, where they are sending some of the immigrants, and some of the immigrants they're allowing loose into the country all over, so not all of them are being sent there, but some are. And we have sources for these things, and yet people still try to deny them. It doesn't make sense to me. But this is what it is. Now, at about the same time, InfoWars reported the same kind of observations in Houston, Texas, and later in Phoenix. Since May of 2014, the country has been besieged with reports, pictures, and videos of UN vehicles in our country. Fox 5 San Diego ran sightings of these vehicles have been widely reported beginning last spring, and this had led to some suspect that an occupation force is being mobilized. Let me pause right there. I also did a YouTube video on this not that long ago about the UN building up its army. They've got Russian soldiers, American soldiers, soldiers from Israel, soldiers from Saudi Arabia, soldiers from China, soldiers from India, soldiers from France, Italy, all across the country. The UN has a world army, so to speak. And anything with a world army throws up, again, red flags for me. This is the formation of your new world order. And things are going to go down and soon. And to know that they're building up and they've got stations, this is something we need to watch out for, because this isn't global world peace leadership kind of stuff. This is a takeover of our sovereignty and our rights. A report on Sunday morning, July 6th, in the early morning hours, which detailed sightings of UN vehicles being transported north of San Diego and I-15, headed towards Riverside. The story said that the vehicles were manufactured in the U.S. and were being transported for shipment overseas. Really? Does this explain why these vehicles are being transported in several southern states? Does the manufacturer have an automotive plant in Georgia, California, Texas, and etc.? Why didn't you see these reports in Detroit? The Fox 5 website contains neither a video or a written report of the story. I suspect the story was a trial balloon used to gauge the believability in response to the story without leaving behind much in the way of evidence. I agree. In every case, the vehicles are being transported and not being individually driven. This clearly suggests the pre-positioning of military assets for future use. The UN is preparing to seize American guns and have hired personnel to do so. And like I just showed you, the UN arms treaty and the disarmament, this is exactly what they are preparing to do. Now, the arms treaty could lead to something like that. I don't know if it could or couldn't, but it's obviously in the works, and they are doing it, and I did prove that to you. Let's go on. In October 2014, I discovered evidence of Human Health Service medical quarantine camps. Here's a picture of one. However, none of these camps held any medical personnel, medical organizations, or any evidence of treatment facilities. During the Ebola crisis, we learned that in the event of a pandemic, the Secretary of Human Services would assume operation control of the federal emergency public health and medical response. In the event of a pandemic outbreak, the HHS will order the quarantining of Ebola sufferers or any other pandemic, so to speak, and the transport of the same to detainment camps. The mass transportation of Ebola victims to quarantine camps is referred to as ambulance services, and it is a euphemism for transporting sick people to a death camp. Now, he has found evidence supporting these claims in a federal document called Emergency Support Function 8. Let me show that to you. All right, here we are on FEMA.gov. I will leave a link to this, but Emergency Support Function 8, Public Health and Medical Service Annex, and it has all the information in here. I highly recommend you guys go through this on your own. I don't want to keep you for too much time, but there's lots of information on this. And here's some of what he said. ESF 8 support agencies are responsible for maintaining administrative control over their respective response resources after receiving coordinating instructions from HHS. Now here's a little further. It says that patient evacuation, ESF number 8, is responsible for transporting serious ill or seriously ill describes persons whose illness or injuries is of such severity that there is cause for concern, but there is not imminent danger to life, or injured patients and medical need populations from casualty collection points in the impacted area to designated reception facilities. In other words, to your FEMA camps. It goes on, ESF 8 may request the DOD, the VA, or the DHS, or FEMA via the National Ambulance Contract to provide support for evacuating seriously ill or injured patients. Support may include providing transportation assets, operating and staffing NDMS, federal coordination centers, and processing and tracking patient movements from collection points to their final destination receptive facilities, or again, your FEMA camps. Now, I'm all for if a virus breaks out, quarantining or, rounding up folks. I get it. Because obviously we don't want, others to catch it and for it to spread like wildfire. I get it. But the thing is, I'm trying to prove that these FEMA camps do exist. They are there and they are around, and they can use them for any reason. We have executive orders that name that they can use them for any reason under the sun. If they want to use them as a quarantine because of an outbreak, they can do that. If they want to use them because they round up patriot dissidents, so to speak, then they can do that. If they want to round up Christians or Catholics or whoever it is that they want to target, they are going to do that, or veterans in this case, whoever they want to do. Now, my question here is too, I don't see a particular medical personnel in this list, but I do see, as you can tell, that I think they have the Red Cross on staff, and they have people that they can seek or ask for medical help from, but according to this, they don't have any medical staff at those particular FEMA camps in general, and I'm going to get into that in a moment, but they can ask for additional help from certain, companies or organizations within the government. Anyhow, that said, let me go back. I do believe that what I also want to say is, in the event of an outbreak of say Ebola, for example, or any other pandemic, in the event that happens, I want a warning that something is going to happen, and I don't think we will necessarily get that from our government either. So just another thing to think about. Now, here's what's tricky. As you can see, those who are doing the transporting to these NDMS hospitals, so to speak, they're not really any hospital people helping with these. Now, they can enlist help, so to speak, but these things aren't really there. Let me show you who is there. Let's scroll down. And it's this: supporting agencies, Department of Agriculture. What they have to do with that is way beyond anything I can think of. Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Department of Defense, that'd be your rounding up, Department of Energy, National Nuclear Security Administration, Department of Homeland Security, that's just a continuation, Department of the Interior, Department of Justice, Department of Labor. Where is your medical staff? Just, Department of Transportation, Department of Veteran Affairs. Well, there are some, we have maybe some medical aids in your Veteran Affairs, possibly. Coordinates with participating NDMS hospitals to provide incident-related medical care. Okay, and we know the kind of medical care they give there. Emergency Protection Agency, and then we have General Service Administration, U.S. Agency for International Development, U.S. Postal Service, and the American Red Cross, which is just your overall basic first aid, a little beyond that, or emergency stuff, so to speak. But I don't see no CDC anywhere listed on this, so to speak. But as part of the members or part of the functions now, they can enlist help from them, but they're not part of the immediate list. And if they are these quarantine centers, you would think that they would have them top of the list, but it just isn't there. And he goes to explain that in here as well. He says, according to the document, the DoD is the only recognized federal partner responsible for regulating and tracking patients transported on DoD asserts to appropriate treatment facilities or these hospitals. However, however, other agencies may assist with isolation and quarantine measures with point of distribution operations. And here is where he lists the participants, which I just showed you, all the way to the Red Cross. No healthcare personnel at the HHS FEMA detention camps. He says in the above list, which I just showed you on the document itself, of Ebola detention centers or any pandemic, I don't see the CDC or the National Institute of Health listed, nor do I see any legitimate medical organizations other than like the Red Cross, which does your basic stuff, or the VA. I don't even see the presence of any volunteer medical organizations such as Doctors Without Borders. Does anyone else find it disturbing that the transport of very sick people will be conducted and the end point is devoid of any medical treatment organization and or facilities? It's interesting to know that. Now, like I said, I did find that they can enlist the help, so to speak, but it's not fully on there. There is not one shred of evidence that these camps are intended to treat or even make comfortable people who will contact Ebola or be exposed to Ebola or any other disease. The most disturbing thing is that these camps will be death camps for relatively healthy people. If you are a person who is unlucky enough to be discovered to have asthma, maybe you just aren't with Ebola or whatever, or merely be temporarily suffering from congestion in one of the lungs from allergy or a simple cold, you might find yourself in one of these ambulance services or buses or planes to a quarantine camp to your final destination. And he goes on to list Executive Order 13592. And he says any medical detention camp that does not have medical organizations is a concentration camp by any other name. The pre-positioning of these asserts for use in 2015 was the intention of the Ebola scare. Now, we could see a lot of things coming in 2015. I'm not sure what the new year will hold, only time will tell. But we have a calm coming before a storm possible. We know FEMA camps exist. We know quarantines are real. We know Ebola can break out as a pandemic. We know the economy could collapse. We know also that they're setting up an arms trade treaty and there could be issues with that. But one more breaking bit of information that I want to show you is from the French foreign minister. Let me show you that clip, who made a shocking statement that will blow you away. And I want to close with this because I think it's imperative. Now, I'm going to leave a YouTube to this, but it's French foreign minister. He says this: 500 days is what they have in order to avoid climate chaos. Now, I don't exactly understand why he said that or what he meant by that, but let me play the clip for you. Now, he said this May 13th, 2014. Let me just play it real quick.
We have 500 days to avoid the climate chaos. Very important issue of climate change, climate chaos, and I said that we have 500 days to avoid climate chaos, and I know that President Obama and John Kerry himself are committed on this subject, and I'm sure that them, with a lot of other friends, we should be able to reach a success in this very important matter.
All right, so there you have it. If you haven't heard this before, you need to hear it. But basically, if you weren't able to understand him, he says, We have 500 days to avoid climate chaos. He did not expand on this, but he was with John Kerry when he made the statement. Now, what on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I know people have talked about, maybe it's an asteroid. I don't know. I'm not saying that I agree with that either. It's just one of the theories out there. I don't know what he means. Now, I do know that but I do know that from May 13th, 2014, when he made that shocking, strange statement, that 500 days from that would put us in September of 2015. Now, some things to think about is we all know that the fourth blood moon is coming September 28th in 2015. Not saying anything will happen. I am just pointing out what I know. We also know that the Day of Atonement, the Israeli holiday, also takes place September, right at that same time that he's saying 500 days. So we have a blood moon in September, we have the Day of Atonement in September, and also our Jubilee year is that year. And all these things are just crazy if we add that together. So I'm just kind of asking the question, what the heck is he talking about? I don't know. But September is definitely a month I'm just going to be keeping an eye on to know that we've got our blood moon, we've got our Day of Atonement, we've got our Jubilee year, and then we have the French foreign minister saying that right around that time, we need to avoid climate chaos, whatever that means. Anyhow, I wanted to give you guys all the facts and just kind of inform you about everything that is going on, and you guys can do with the information what you will. Anyhow, this is Lisa Haven signing off.
Where you at? Approach into 27. Engage. You are hitting the guys with the RPGs right now. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we're sleeping, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. When they do, I'll be right behind you. So glad we've almost made it. So sad they had to fade it. Everybody wants to.
Greetings, citizens of the world. There's been a lot in the news lately, from threats of war to future space endeavors. Two very different ends of the spectrum with vastly different consequences for humanity. While politicians bicker over power plays by opposing nations here on Earth, we continue to face many threats from beyond this world. The unfortunate truth is that while our generation may survive the next 100 years, it's only a matter of time till humanity as a whole faces catastrophe on a global scale. We occupy one tiny world, around a single star out of billions, in a single galaxy out of trillions in the observable universe. That alone shows how fragile our species really is. Thus we come to a realization, and an inevitability: Earth cannot remain our only home forever. Some of the voyagers we set forth to the farthest reaches of the galaxy will lose contact with us, and we'll never hear from them again in our lifetime. Nevertheless, our legacy will live on through them as they colonize new worlds across the stars. While we can ensure the survival of humanity through migration and colonization, we can also help ensure the survival of Earth through unification. As we unite to explore other worlds, we'll in turn find ourselves securing our own. Earth will always be our home world, and as such it will always hold a special place in our hearts. While we don't know what the future might hold, We do know one thing for certain, it will be much brighter with humanity united. If we continue on our current course, our mutual destruction is ensured. So some may ask why we continue to have wars and fight amongst ourselves. Humans are influenced by their cultures and many other factors growing up. From what their parents believed, to what school and religion teaches them. With that in mind, it's no wonder with over 270 religions, 196 countries, and with modern society being derived from thousands of different cultures, that people tend to bump heads on worldly views. Nonetheless, those differences are what makes humanity so unique. Rather than being used to divide us, they are precisely what should be bringing us together. From art, to food, and even technology, those differences in culture make humanity. And that's what should be celebrated. Every year we do share in a celebration. People from all over the world come together to celebrate the new year. We stand together and share in our cultures, and for one day we are united as a planet. Now we must channel that same energy and use it into coming together again, not for personal gain, not for the promise of money or fame, but to embark in the greatest journey humanity has ever made. It took just 12 years to go from launching the first artificial satellite, to landing humans on the moon and returning them back to Earth safely. In the 43 years since Apollo 17, humanity has never gone back, nor accomplished a greater manned mission. Not for a lack of money, nor a lack of technology, but because priorities changed and collectively humanity no longer has the drive to venture beyond Earth. With that being said, the direction and future of humanity itself is on the line, and our priorities must be clear. Due to the theory of special relativity, interstellar travel is possible within our lifetime, and entirely doable with technology that on a much smaller scale already exists today. Therefore the choice is now entirely up to you. Will we unite as a species to ensure the survival of the human race, and boldly explore the unknown? Or will we continue to fight each other and play Russian roulette until all the chambers are loaded? We are anonymous. We are legion. We can forgive, though we shall never forget. Expect us.
Said, man, it's all about life.
Greetings, citizens of the world, we are anonymous. It has come to our unfortunate attention to bring you such hard news. We recently gathered data of the impending martial law that may be taking place this month and next few months, as we are taking part in all of this together. Several anons agreed to send out this message to whom may even concern and believe we are all in imminent danger. Our policemen are fully militarized across the nation, and they are getting ready for martial law and will come and confiscate your guns, arrest people who have not committed any crimes. Justice will no longer be inexistent in this country, except by us anons. We expect things to continue to get worse if we keep standing down, and should be a wake-up call for all Americans. We would advise you to spread this message wherever you can, to get people aware that we are in fact in imminent danger. Now we will discuss the colored dots. If you have not yet done research for the coming planned martial law, there will be encoded colored dots either on your mailbox or another form that will be looked visibly, and we will make you aware now of what the encoded dots are. The blue dot is resemblance, that you will be sent to the FEMA camps, to be re-education, by meaning wipe out everything you already know, in this present age. The red dot means you will be executed, on the spot, without due process, or without consent or justice. The pink dot will resemble that you will be a good slave, to the new world order, that is in our dire near future. Remember that all these events are taking place right before your very eyes, are a complete setup by the elites, to distract you from what their plans are, and we would advise you to ignore the mainstream media and start going on alternative media, which we do most of our research on, especially hacking. There are cases that some Anons have been kidnapped and killed by those people, wearing black suits driving unmarked vehicles, who spoke against the Illuminati, and we suspect to be the very same group, from Bolivia, Germany 300 years ago, and believe we are all in imminent danger. Whatever the case may be, we are all in this together, and we shall rise, and begin fighting harder than ever before, and will begin going all out, before martial law taking place, either this month or next month. We send you our prayers to hope you are safe from the impending martial law. Do what you can while you have freedoms to do so, and we have to get people awakened before it's too late, and we will become forever slaves, and ultimately go extinct. We are anonymous, we are legion, we are united as one, divided by zero. We may forgive, but we do not forget. Expect us.
We like war. We like war. We're a warlike people. We like war because we're good at it. You know why we're good at it? Because we get a lot of practice. This country's only 200 years old, and already we've had 10 major wars. We average a major war every 20 years in this country, so we're good at it. And it's a good thing we are. We're not very good at anything else anymore. Huh? Can't build a decent car. Can't make a TV set or a VCR worth of fuck. Got no steel industry left, can't educate our young people, can't get health care to our old people, but we can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Especially if your country is full of brown people. That's our new job in the world, bombing brown people. Iraq, Panama, Grenada, Libya, you got some brown people in your country, tell them to watch the fuck out! Or we'll goddamn bomb them! Well, when's the last white people you can remember that we bombed? Can you remember the last white? Can you remember any white people we've ever bombed? The Germans, those are the only ones, and that's only because they were trying to cut in on our action. They wanted to dominate the world. Bullshit, that's our fucking job! And you probably noticed I don't feel about that war the way we were told we were supposed to feel about that war, the way we were ordered and instructed by the United States government to feel about that war. My mind doesn't work that way. I got this real moron thing I do, it's called thinking. And I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions. I don't just roll over when I'm told to. Sad to say, most Americans just roll over on command. Not me. I have certain rules I live by. My first rule, I don't believe anything the government tells me. Nothing. Zero. Nope. And I don't take very seriously the media or the press in this country, who in the case of the Persian Gulf War were nothing more than unpaid employees of the Department of Defense, and who most of the time function as kind of an unofficial public relations agency for the United States government. So I don't listen to them. I don't really believe in my country. And I gotta tell you folks, I don't get all choked up about yellow ribbons and American flags. I consider them to be symbols, and I leave symbols to the symbol-minded. Now, to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything you can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start? Left behind? Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
The greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated to. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free.
What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers.
We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
Historically, the control and manipulation of political opinion has been the Freemasons' main weapon in gaining control of countries and states. Once in control of the rulers and politicians of a country, laws and political structures could be changed in accordance with their agenda. However, since restricting the body does not necessarily mean restricting the mind, the Freemason recognizes that their plan for a global government hinges completely on subduing the masses to their agenda, and thus eliminating opposition to their cause. And the greatest threat to their plan, posing more danger than any army or law, is the threat of a free-thinking mind. In order to eliminate this threat and to achieve their objective, the Masons have set about the boldest plan ever devised: the complete control of every aspect of human life, your life. And the weapons they are using against you are in your very homes, entertaining you and your children, and gradually indoctrinating you without you even realizing.
Talking about the fact that a war is rich old men protecting their property by sending middle class and lower class young men off to die. Forget these foolish elections. The owners of this country don't care about the poor in general.
Owners of this country? What are we going? Is this Karl Marx talking to me? The owners of this country are the voters of this country.
You're wrong about that.
Aren't the owners of this country the voters in this country who elected George Bush?
Not. Listen, for politics, these elections are a charade. It is a charade.
Okay.
They are meant to. I'll tell you, just listen for a minute. Learn a little something. Elections and politicians are in place in order to give Americans the illusion that they have freedom of choice. You don't really have choice in this country. All the things that are important, reduced in choice. Newspapers in a city, how many? Used to be 3, 4, now it's 1 or 2. They're owned by the same people, and they also own a radio station. Give these people a voting day every year so that they'll have the illusion of meaningless choice. Meaningless choice, that we go like slaves and say, "Yo, I voted." The limits of debate in this country are established before the debate even begins, and everyone else is marginalized and made to seem either to be communist or some sort of disloyal person. A kook, there's a word, and now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff. Conspiracy buff.
Not as a result of a conspiracy, but
you
because...
don't need a formal conspiracy.
Right.
When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and fraternities, they're on the same boards of directors, they're in the same country clubs, they have like interests, they don't need to call a meeting, they know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies, there are now 3, it will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties, there are a handful of insurance companies, there are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice. Right. You don't think the real important choice. There's no freedom of choice. That's a great point.
Comedian George Carlin has died. A spokesperson says he suffered heart failure in a California hospital last evening.
One time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was him.
Everywhere you look, corruption. We continue to fight pointless wars over lies, and we are killing innocents and letting our children die in wars just to ensure the Federal Reserve can continue their petrodollar scandal. We are sitting idly by while these crooks continue to loan fake money out to us at interest, stealing our homes, and enslaving our children. Let me make this extremely clear to all of you listening. Many corporations, especially the Federal Reserve, used the government to steal $17 trillion from your children. Your children did not have that money. They are now debt slaves. These people have stolen money from your children that are not even born yet, and sold their freedoms. They have enslaved you and many around the world. Wake up, world. And they did all of this by counterfeiting money and loaning it out at an interest. They have stolen hundreds of trillions from people around the world. Have you heard about Microsoft's Xbox manufacturers in China? They had to install suicide nets outside their buildings to ensure their employees don't jump out of the window to commit suicide. These are the conditions your children in the US will be working under when the debt is soon owed, and it will be owed. It is not a matter of if it will be owed, but it is just a matter of when. And it will happen as soon as the United States economy collapses, which will happen very, very soon. And if you think because you do not live in the United States this does not affect you, you are wrong. And you are next. The only way we can stop this is if we all unite together and fight it. People of the US are waking up to the Federal Reserve scandal, and the powers that be are currently afraid of retaliation. And that is precisely why they trying everything they can to disarm us. You know how the media has been saying gun violence has been out of control and at an all-time high. They are not simply twisting the truth here or exaggerating. They are absolutely bold-faced presenting lies to you. First off, realize, gun violence in the United States has always been shockingly low. And gun violence has dropped by 49% in the last 11 years. The already absurdly low gun violence in America has literally dropped in half. In half. The fact they are saying that it is at an all-time high perfect demonstrates how biased the government and the media is. If this doesn't prove to you that they have an agenda, then nothing will. Do you remember how the media keeps repeating that there has been 74 school shootings since Sandy Hook? Those 74 shootings were not even mass shootings like they claim. Most were suicides and none of them even took place at a school. Not a single one. They are presenting lies to you, America. When will you wake up? At some point you have to ask yourself, why would the government fake 74 mass school shootings involving children? If they get our guns, we will lose the fight against them. and they will take away absolutely all of your freedoms, and you and your children will be forever slaves. And don't forget, they purposefully put you and your children into that debt. And because the Federal Reserve is present in all countries, the other countries of the world are next soon after. This plan is called the New World Order. It is the same New World Order the Vice President of the United States called for on national TV a month ago. He said we need to strive for and complete the New World Order. This is also the same New World Order President George Bush and President Kennedy said is our country's lifetime goal. And the same New World Order George Bush said on national TV said will happen no matter what we do, and we cannot prevent it. This has all been a long-time plan. The Federal Reserve and their partners want complete control of humanity. We cannot let this happen. They want to rule over us, like kings and queens. And humanity will be forever lost to enslavement by a bunch of tyrants who have publicly admitted they want to kill off the majority of the population so the masses are easier to control. They are going to wipe your bloodline completely off of the earth. He'll tell you the order of things to happen. The enslavement will follow immediately after guns are taken away and you cannot fight back. If they cannot get the guns before the economic collapse, then they will wait until the economy collapses. When the economy collapses, people will be starving. There will be looters and shootings. The government will insist on taking guns away to help, and as soon as the guns are taken away, then we will fall into a complete dictatorship. Do not fall for it. Remember, they are the ones who caused the economic collapse to begin with. This is the same tactic used on Germans and it worked. So expect it. As soon as the economy collapsed and the masses were starving, the German government asked the people to give up their rights and they listened. And then eventually the government was throwing the naked masses into giant burning hot ovens for mass execution. Do not give up your rights. Do not give up your guns. Fight back, as they were the ones who caused the problem. Just so you know, the people who are behind this Federal Reserve scam and New World Order are the same ones who funded Hitler's campaign. Make no mistake, these people are as brutal as Hitler himself, even more brutal. In fact, now we are going to show you some. Assuming America grows some balls and we win, we will need an overall plan. We have come up with a perfect plan. This plan offers extraordinary possibilities. It will make for the most beautiful and free world you can ever imagine. If we are successful, we can leave a much better for our children. A beautiful world. Watch every minute of the rest of the video. Do not skip a single bit of it, as it is all important. If this one video gets out to and can change the world, this is your opportunity to make a difference. Please.
Greetings humanity. Greetings humanity over the internet. We are anonymous. This documentary will be guaranteed to blow your mind. Just to make things clear and understanding in a simple manner. We are not here to scare you. Rather, we are here to prepare what is about to come in the United States very soon. If you think the economy is perfectly fine, you are wrong. In fact, the economy may possibly collapse by the end of 2015, and because you think there will not be martial law, you are wrong again. Martial law has already came to America. It is the beta version of martial law, and this is why we continually advise you to get ready so you don't have to worry later down the road. The Illuminati wants you to be unprepared, so that they know they have you under their control and they will use you to accuse people for supposedly fear-mongering, and that is simply what we are not doing. You need to prepare, and prepare now, while you still have the chance to. The choice is yours, people, and no one will force you to make a choice. Remember, if you fail to prepare, you will face the consequences down the road, and this is not fear-mongering. This is a warning, and heed the warning you are given in respect. We all know things are bad. Nevertheless, people, this is not the time to be standing down. This is your chance to rise up and make a difference for not only the United States, but the entire globe. Economies across their globe are suffering, while some others are booming. For example, China. Their economy has boomed and they recently announced plans for a global currency just a few short months ago, if you can recall, on national television. If you continue our warnings of what is to come, just don't come complaining to us, when we told you so and we were right. Listen to truthers. Listen to those who are trying to prepare you. Listen to those who are trying to save your life, and getting you ready for the worst and hope for the best. We the people are the last hope and we need to unite together. The bickering and the pointless fighting people will not get us anywhere closer to our goals we are achieving. That does not mean have debates and compromising, which we will suggest, if we come to an agreement on things. And stop with the bickering and fighting over pointless things, if you truly want to make change. Now you don't have to agree with everything people say, and preferably you do not agree with every single thing, and always do your own research. There are many great sources out on the internet and use them. It does not hurt to research things. Ask questions. Or being curious, as this is part of human nature. The continuation of dividing each other over pointless things shall come to an end. We can, however, forget it. Does not mean we won't forget it. The choice is up to you people. You decide what side you choose. Choose wisely and don't choose the fatal pill. You need to think for yourself and nobody is going to do the thinking for you, because all that falls onto you only and no one else. And remember, you can do anything you want and you are anonymous by default. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Alright, we're going to cut the stream, and we might be back later tonight. Thanks for watching.